Shane's favorites this year, featuring stunning sapphires, emeralds, or rubies. At Shane Company, every gift and every price range is crafted to our high-quality standards. We have jewelers working in every store to bring your gifts to life, making sure rings fit just right, setting center stones and engagement rings by hand, and engraving your pieces to make your gifts even more special. Your gifts will always be protected with our unmatched free lifetime warranty. Visit shaneco.com and come see us in store. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Roof now, pay later. Hi, I'm Sam Thomason, owner of State Roofing. Take advantage of our zero down, zero payments, and zero interest for up to a year. We've partnered with leading lenders to make the replacement or repair of your roof affordable. Flexible financing options are available to take the worry out of an unexpected expense. Call us today at 866-ROOF-ROOF to schedule a free no-obligation estimate or visit us at stateroofing.com. That's stateroofing.com.
State Roofing, the best roof you'll ever need.
Free consultations, no fee guarantees, 5-star reviews. J.P. Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains the importance of going beyond these familiar offerings.
Accident victims want an attorney, Tom, that satisfies their needs. Someone who handles those needs with the highest degree of care. Pendergast Law offers the no-fee guarantees and free consultations, but these only scratch the surface.
Okay, explain more.
We make sure that every member of our team is genuinely passionate about helping others. Customer service and communication are our top priority. It's how we take care of our clients so they always feel one step ahead of the insurance companies. Our strong reputation for high standards provides comfort and confidence when it's needed most.
Pendergast Law offers the free consultations, the no-fee guarantees, and of course, they are 5-star rated. But what really makes them different is their genuine passion for helping others. I can't recommend them enough.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
That's PendergastLaw.com.
An airliner without warning plunges into the Gulf of Alaska. No one knows why. There are no survivors. Then loved ones are left to wonder,
what happened to Flight 293?
Unsolved Histories. What happened to Flight 293? Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Is chronic pain beginning to make your everyday life a challenge? Then call Dr. Daniel Nelson, MD, with Eastside Pain and Regenerative Medicine. With over 30 years of experience, no one has more experience in pain medicine techniques and stem cell therapy than Dr. Nelson. And here's what a satisfied patient had to say.
I was experiencing severe neck pain, kind of radiating from my shoulders up into my head. And it was pretty severe, and it lasted for about a year. So I went to see Dr. Nelson, and after I got the stem cell treatment, I had positive results within a week, and it just got better from there. And to this day, I can't believe I used to be in such pain. He was just an incredible doctor. Everything about the place was just fantastic.
So don't let pain control your life. Consider stem cell therapy with Dr. Daniel Nelson, MD. Call 425-823-4000 today. That's 425-823-4000 or go to danielnelsonmd.com.
Let's go!
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle Sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
The Ravens outlasted the Bengals in Thursday night football last night. That leaves the 4-6 Bengals scrambling to make up ground in a race to the postseason. It's also a disappointing loss considering this stat line for Jamar Chase. You guys already know, 11 catches, 3 touchdowns, 264 yards. The Seahawks are on a bye, but the rest of the NFC West isn't. So here's what to keep an eye on in Week 10. The 49ers heading to Tampa Bay for a 10 a.m. kickoff on Fox. Cardinals hosting the 3-6 Jets at 1:25, different times for all three of these games. And Monday night, the Rams host the Dolphins.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time. From the Quantum Fiber Studio,
this is Bump and Stacy
on Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
Here we go now. It's a Football Friday powered by the Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. And what a Thursday night game. The Seahawks are on a bye, so I'm obviously watching a lot of other games this weekend, and I feel like we got started with dessert before dinner because that was absolutely phenomenal.
It was one of the games of the year, which is something that Thursday Night Football usually doesn't deliver.
Not at all.
But Yeah, I was enthralled with that one down to literally the final play of the game. Bengals losing it on that 2-point conversion. There's controversy, too, that we're going to talk about today. Again, with a missed face mask call in Thursday Night Football. But, Stacey, I mean, that Ravens offense is really good. Their defense, not that good this season, but when you have an offense as good as they do, I mean, anything is possible for that team.
If Bump and I were in a race, and let's say it was 100 meters, it would be like if he let me run 3/4 of the way there and then caught up to me and beat me. That's how good the Ravens offense is, because they put up, 250-ish yards in the fourth quarter alone. I want you to think about that. 200-plus yards in a single quarter of play. Down 3 scores. They go back-to-back-to-back-to-back touchdown drives, which brings us to the Bengals' failed 2-point conversion.
Yosevich to the right side. Chase to the left side. To the right side he goes. Incomplete at the goal line.
I know it's a heartbreaking loss for the Bengals, but at that point, you can tie it up with a point after and try a coin flip to get to overtime, to see if you take possession in overtime. Hopefully you fend off the Ravens. But, Curtis, after watching what the Ravens offense did in the fourth, I'm making the same decision Zach Taylor did.
Yeah, Bengals weren't stopping the Ravens offense in that quarter. And look, we saw it happen a few times this week in the NFL. Even in the Seahawks game, the Seahawks tie it late with an opportunity to go for 2 and win it in regulation. That came back to bite them in overtime when they couldn't convert on that fourth down. I admire the aggressiveness from Zach Taylor, especially in a big moment like that, in a situation where he's like, look, I don't know if we have the horses to hang with this team if it goes to overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Let's win it right here in regulation, presented with that opportunity. Yeah, you love to see calls like that, even if it backfires. I get that, they could have extended their life a little bit longer, but with the way that Ravens offense was cooking at the end of the game, I don't see a world in which the Bengals win it if it goes to overtime. You have the opportunity to win in front of you. You should take it more often than not, because those kinds of plays don't usually present themselves much.
Also, the Bengals are in such a weird spot. 4-6, they are on the outside looking in with a playoff race. I mean, they're competing with playoff spots the way that the Broncos and Jets are, and they're a significantly better offense. You have that kind of stat line from Jamar Chase, 11 catches, 3 touchdowns, 264 yards. Joe Burrow goes off for 428 yards, 4 touchdown passes. This from Paul Daynard Jr. You sent this to me, actually. He writes for The Athletic. The rest of the NFL this year, when scoring at least 33 points, 38-1. The Bengals are 2-3.
Ooh, they've 75% of the NFL's losses this season when allowing or when scoring at least 33 points.
Is that bad luck or a bad defense?
That's a bad defense. That's what that is to me. That's a defense that is Swiss cheese. It's a defense that, for whatever reason, and I think a lot of people kind of assumed this was going to be the case with the Bengals defense heading into the season. They've lost a lot of talent on it over the last couple of years, which is weird because their defense is really, really good when they went to the Super Bowl. What their defensive coordinator, I think Lou Anarumo, he's interviewed for a lot of head coaching jobs over the last couple of years. But yeah, this Bengals defense is not looking good. Even the Ravens defense not looking good this season. No. And that was one of the big things that stood out to me last night too, is what this Ravens defense is doing this year compared to last year. And why that matters is because, well, the Seahawks head coach was the Ravens defensive coordinator a year ago. And now Baltimore's lost a lot of talent too. No Jadeveon Clowney, no Geno Stone, no Patrick Queen on that defense.
They lost Kyle Hamilton.
They lost Kyle Hamilton. He got hurt last night. So a lot of the starters on last year's defense not there right now. And the guy who was calling the shots not there right now. But yeah, that Ravens defense, while their offense has looked amazing this season, their defense might be amazing in how bad it is right now.
Well, their passing, the Ravens have had a great run defense for years. Like, I cannot remember the last time that the Ravens defense was god-awful against the run. But they had huge problems against the pass before bringing in Mike McDonald, and he got them up to, I want to say, a top 5, top 6 passing defense, fix that pass rush, and that was really where he excelled. Right now, Baltimore 32nd against the pass. So you can feel the absence of Mike McDonald in Baltimore. You don't yet feel the presence of him in Seattle yet, though, in part because Seattle's biggest problem was never the pass rush, though it wasn't consistent. It was stopping the run.
Right, and I think a lot of things about this season we kind of assumed and have maybe been wrong about. I think we all kind of assumed the Ravens defense was going to not miss a beat without Mike Macdonald just because of how great the talent was there. And you promoted from within, too. Zach Orr was an assistant under Mike Macdonald.
A really good one.
He's now the defensive coordinator in Baltimore. And Bump emailed us last night with a bunch of things that he had assumed to start this season that have gone much different than what has happened over the course of the season's first. Now we're at week 10. We're starting week 10. We started it last night. We're more than halfway through the season, and Bump right there in lockstep with us saying he thought the Ravens defense was going to be great this year, and it hasn't been. Their offense has bailed them out time and time again, and their offense has been elite to the point where you really don't even think about their defense. But there's a lot of things in this NFL season, Stacey, that we look at and maybe thought to start the year, and it has played out completely different than what we thought was going to happen.
Absolutely. To add on to what you and Bump were pointing out, Baltimore, still one of the better not one of the better scoring defenses. They've really fallen off there, going from the best scoring defense in the league to 25 points. So it was 16.2 points allowed last year to 25 this year, allowing almost an additional 2 scores per game. That's absolutely insane. I'll get to some more of what Bump was going to say, because his ideas, I read all of them and I was like, yes, this is exactly right. He also looked at Patrick Mahomes. So a lot of these in the AFC, we will get to the Seahawks though. He said, I thought Patrick Mahomes would be a leader in all stats. False. Patrick Mahomes, no one thinks Patrick Mahomes has fallen off, and no one thinks that the Chiefs are undefeated in spite of Patrick Mahomes. I would argue it's the opposite. That great defense and then Mahomes just making miraculous plays at the right time. But this has not been a stellar Chiefs offense. He is one of the top players in terms of touchdown to interception ratio being awful.
Yeah.
Right there with Geno Smith.
11 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He's taken 16 sacks on the season. Doesn't have a passer rating he has a 90.1 passer rating right now, which is kind of league average. The Chiefs' run game hasn't really gotten going either. Their 2 leading rushers, Kareem Hunt and Carson Steele, averaging no more than 3.7 yards per carry. This offense has not been why the Chiefs are undefeated. You mentioned that defense. It's looked really good this season and continues to look really good. So they have been a team where, yes, the result of them being undefeated, probably not a surprise, but the route that they have taken to get there, definitely one that I don't think anybody had anticipated, because there's no contest when you're naming the best quarterback in the NFL. It's Patrick Mahomes. I still would take him to win me one game over anybody in the NFL right now, even with the bad season that he has had to start this year. But you look up and down that Chiefs defense. I mean, you've got guys all over the place with, it's been a collective effort. It hasn't just been Chris Jones. It hasn't just been one guy doing a lot of the heavy lifting, Nick Bolton. It's been everywhere. George Karlaftis leading them in sacks. Their defensive backs, Trent McDuffie, has continued to play great. Jalen Watson too. So I mean, it's everywhere with that Chiefs team, not just offensively.
What's another preseason assumption you had that turned into a very different regular season reality?
One preseason assumption I had that has turned into a reality. I thought that, one that I assumed that did come true.
Okay.
Or one that has gone.
It could go either way. I have one, for instance, that I assumed would happen that has been the opposite.
Well, one that I thought has gone the opposite of how I thought it was going to go is Pittsburgh being 6-2.
Yes.
I did not expect them to be 6-2, leading the AFC North with quarterback question marks up until 3 weeks ago 2 weeks ago, when Russell Wilson made his season debut in Week 7, coming off of Justin Fields going 4-2. I did not think that Russ was able to get back to where he was pre-Denver. Yeah. I wouldn't say he's necessarily there yet, but he's got a much better supporting cast in Pittsburgh than he did in Denver. And just Pittsburgh being able to withstand the uncertainty of Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, will Russ play, will he won't play, didn't matter. Doesn't matter. They're 6-2. They have a huge game this Sunday against Washington. That's going to be a really fun one to watch in the morning slate of games. this Pittsburgh team is a way better team than I thought they were going to be. I did not think that they were going to extend Mike Tomlin's streak of only winning seasons. He's never had a losing season. I thought this year was when it was going to come to an end. Now, they still have a lot of ways to go. They have not clinched a winning record yet, but going 6-2 to start a year, that puts you in a very good spot.
Something I thought would be true, a preseason assumption I made, was that Breece Hall would be a difference maker with the New York Jets, and that the New York Jets in general would have a surprisingly heavy rushing offense. I assume that because not only is Aaron Rodgers a little bit older, though still effective, but he's great with play action. He's great with fake handoffs. Breece Hall is young and wonderful. They added to that offensive line, and I just thought this all makes sense. It all makes sense that they're going to be a team that is pretty well balanced offensively, but really takes advantage of a young Breece Hall. They are averaging 87 rushing yards per game. They're 30th. I mean, they are worse than Seattle, and Seattle is like just barely looking down their nose. They're 27th, but they are one of the worst rushing offenses in the NFL. I did not think that would be the case.
No, they have been really bad running the ball, and I think we have Michael Bumpus here with us.
We do. Bump from Oregon State. Welcome on. How's it going?
What's up? You know, just another day in Core Vegas doing what I do.
Core Vegas. Curtis and I were just talking about Thursday night and how amazing it was. And I actually, I want to know what you thought about the game. But, Bump, I know you play fantasy football. Did you already know whether or not you were playing someone with Jamar Chase? Or like me, did you have to, like, enjoy the game and then stop and go, oh, my God, and then go look at your fantasy team?
You know, I typically just set my lineup and it doesn't exist. You know, I don't know
and
who
then
I'm
I
playing.
Ignore it. Set it and forget it.
And I just leave it alone because I want to be able to watch the games and really enjoy it. So, no, but thankfully I did not play anybody who had Mr. Chase over there.
That's nice for you. Not only did I play someone who has Jamar Chase, but I played someone who has Joe Burrow. I'm currently down 94-3. Tell me what you thought about this one, Bump. I thought it was a phenomenal Thursday night game.
Oh, it was great. You know, I'm looking at this matchup, and I get in late, and so I caught like the tail end of it, but I went back and I'm watching it. I'm looking at the stats, and it just seems unreal. And I asked myself, I go, who do I want right now? Mm-hmm. Do I want Patrick Mahomes, or do I want Lamar Jackson, or do I want Joe Burrow? Because I think all three quarterbacks make a case to be are showing capabilities that they can lead a team to the Super Bowl. But of course, everyone's still going with Pat Mahomes. But I'm looking at what Lamar Jackson does. No one else can do what he does. Nobody walking this earth can play in the best league in the world and make grown men look like recess time at an elementary school. It's crazy. And then I look at Jamar Chase, and he's so deceptively fast. Like that long touchdown that he had reminded folks that he's got some burners too. I think I'm just glad I'm not I mean, I guess we are Ravens fans, right? But like a real Ravens fan, right, or a real Bengals fan, because that would have been stressful to watch.
I'm definitely glad I'm not a Bengals fan after the no call on the face mask. I know Curtis and I haven't gotten to this yet, but Bengals fans obviously pretty upset about that one. In fact, it's going to be in headline rewrites, so let's go ahead and get to them.
Extra, read all about it.
Headline rewrites.
We must make headlines.
The real story behind the headlines in today's news with Bump and Stacy.
Headline number one, Christian McCaffrey will make his 2024 season debut for the 49ers on Sunday against the Bucs. What's the real headline?
You know, I've always believed you should ease a player back into the season, just 1 week on, 1 week off.
That's right. Load management.
Yeah.
Hey, as you guys know, ain't no load management in football, man. You got 17 opportunities.
Don't take that, Joel Embiid.
Hey, no Joel. They're going to ride McCaffrey, man, and they have to because you know, they've struggled at times when it comes to the 49ers, but as you know, they tend to get better as the season goes along. That's what the good teams do. As the season progresses, you get healthier, you get stronger, you understand your strengths and your weaknesses, and you play to them. So I'm jealous that the Bucs get the first crack at them because I would much prefer the Seahawks get the first crack because, you know, there might be some uncertainty in this game.
Now, how do you feel about this Sunday matchup? Again, we're going to be able to just sit back and watch it because there's no Seahawks this Sunday. They're taking on the Buccaneers. It's going to be on the road, a 10 a.m. kickoff Seattle time. The Bucs are sneaky. You know what I mean? They're a game below 500, but they really gave the Chiefs a run for their money, almost dealt them their first loss of the season, and maybe could have if they went for too late. You think the 49ers get out with a win here?
I think they should, but I also know that Baker Mayfield is playing at a really high level. The Bucs are playing with confidence. You almost beat the defending champions. You got to be feeling yourself a little bit. Of course, coming off a loss isn't ideal for them, but my money is definitely on the 49ers. The Bucs are dangerous, so you cannot sleep on them. They'll give you your best shot. Who's at home? Is it in Cali or Florida?
Florida.
It's in Florida? Oh, well, you know, we might have to talk about this. Let me give me a day or two to ponder a bit more.
Headline rewrites.
Headline number 2, Thursday Night Football ended with a controversial no call of a face mask penalty for the second time in the last month. Here's how that sounded.
Terry, what do you see here on both these? The hit, the follow-through on his face mask, and Gesicki.
Yeah, it was clearly defensive holding before the pass was in flight.
Yeah.
That should have been called. And that does look like forcible contact to the head of the quarterback. That's a person that's roughing the passer and should have been called.
Too many games end this way. They just do.
Al Michaels fed up. What's the real headline?
If 140-year-old Al Michaels can see that this is a penalty, then the ref should too.
Man, referees, if you scared, say you scared, right? Just that's what it feels like. They're so scared to make a call, to make the obvious calls. But in the middle of the game, when someone flinches a split seconds before the ball is snapped, they're running out on the field, stopping the Seahawks from going yard.
Right.
It's like when you need to make a play or make a call, that's when you make the call at the end of the game. Stop being scared and throw the dang blanket out there.
Honestly, what I don't get, Curtis and I were talking about this in the sports pit, but Bump, I know that you've been here for this conversation too, because I think we were all saying the same thing with Sam Darnold and that no call. Face mask is one of those things that just did or didn't happen. It's kind of like getting hit by a pitch. Once in a while, there's one where you just can't quite tell if a hand made contact with a face mask or if a ball made contact with a player, but most of the time it's very obvious. Why can't within 2 minutes, like a league office or someone be able to review no calls and potential face masks, especially in moments like this?
Yeah, they got to talk about this. They got to
Yeah.
get together, CBA, the players' reps, the league reps, and figure this thing out. We saw the NCAA ban the fake slide within hours of Kenny Pickett doing it in a game. Within hours, they say, look, you can't fake slide. If you slide, you got to slide. Why can't the NFL do this? It's almost like they complicate things. Like you don't have the power to walk in on a Monday and say on a Tuesday, this is going to be reviewed. It feels lazy to me. Get it done.
Headline rewrites.
Headline 3, the Huskies travel to number 6 Penn State for their annual whiteout game tomorrow. What's the real headline?
Honestly, after this season, I'd like to just black out.
Uh-huh.
It is tough, Bump, going from, and I know that I shouldn't complain. I should not complain, but however, it is tough to go from watching your team in a national title game, even if it's a loss, to watching your team be completely disassembled in an entirely new roster, entirely new coach, just try to fight through the season. It's just a big jump. There's nothing wrong with what Jedd Fisch is trying to do, and this is about building back up, but it's falling off a cliff in terms of being a Huskies fan.
Well, lucky for you, Stacey, you can watch them get smacked at a movie theater this weekend.
At IMAX.
Get your popcorn, and you can watch them do their thing this weekend.
What's your
at
guys'
IMAX.
movie theater snacks? Like, what are you picking to watch this whiteout?
I sneak Skinny Pop into the theater, butter flavor, into the theater in my bag. Yeah.
We ghetto in the Bumpus house, man. We be sneaking in full meals in that piece, man.
And they
Wifey
know.
put it in the bag. Hey, it's all good. Let's get it.
I go in with like a big coat, a huge tote, like as big as me is my bag.
Yeah.
And like movie theater people already know they're just not gonna stop you. They probably don't even care. They're like, whatever, ma'am, we can hear you like crinkling as you walk.
Man, they're teenagers. They don't want none of that
They
smoke.
don't care
They're teenagers
at
just trying
all.
to get that paycheck, get up out of
Yeah,
there.
I've brought in whole sandwiches. I brought in a burrito bowl from Chipotle. You can bring in anything.
Target sells movie theater size candies. That's where we go to get our movie candy, because if you're buying from the theater, you're paying those markup prices. You're paying like $10 for a box of Reese's Pieces. I will say though, the one movie theater snack I will splurge on I will get the biggest size blue raspberry icy available. That's it'll last me throughout the entire movie. It's great.
Yes, absolutely. Someone said, quit being Husky haters. I'm not, first of all, I am a Husky. I'm allowed to say what I want. Secondly, all I'm doing is lamenting the valley that you're in as a Huskies fan and that many Huskies fans are in after being on a peak, which was watching an amazing team last year. I'm so grateful to have had that experience. It was my first time watching my team in a national title game. But it is different. And Bump, you have paid close attention to these games. What the Huskies are trying to do is rebuild, and this is going to be a tough one against the number 6 overall team.
And listen, this is how we show love, okay? You talk, you're not a real friend unless you talk crap about your friends to their face, though, not behind their back. So whenever I have a chance, I'm gonna poke the Huskies a little bit. Y'all know I got love for y'all, man. I'm in the state, but when we're at the highest of highs and you riding a low, it'd be non-Cougar of me for me not to take my shots, because y'all take shots at me all the time.
Fair.
All right, so it's all good.
But this is how you know we're Huskies and Cougars is Joel in Tacoma says, how about the Oregon Ducks? What about them? Coming up next, the Seahawks have lost 5 of 6 and somehow are still alive in the NFC West. So is every other team. It's the league's most wide open division. Let's tell you what you need to know about the race next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
John Morosi is here.
I think the Mariners, if you're not going to spend that money now and really not be a player for at least somebody in the Walker, Santander, Torres class of players, if you're not going to do that, then you might as well trade one of your starting pitchers right now, because you've proven already that you might be able to squeak into the playoffs with this current construction of the team, and you're setting yourself up to consistently come within 1 or 2 or 3 games of a playoff berth and fall short with the current construction of the ball club.
Streaming live on the Seattle Sports app.
Choose the right flooring for your home, right in your home, with Floor Coverings International. They bring the mobile showroom to you, loaded with samples of carpet, LVP, hardwood, laminate, tile, and more, so you can see the flooring in your light, not just in a store or on a screen. They handle every aspect of installation, ensuring your complete satisfaction. Visit FCIFloors.com and book a free in-home consultation. Floor Coverings International, the stars of flooring.
Hey Seattle, Jaden Schwartz for Techline Roofing. Call Techline Roofing and trust the team I trust. With the strongest warranty in the business, Techline Roofing has you covered. That's TEKLINE roofing.com. Trust Techline.
An airliner without warning plunges into the Gulf of Alaska. No one knows why. There are no survivors. Then loved ones are left to wonder, what happened to Flight 293? Unsolved Histories. What happened to Flight 293? Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Chris Davis with the Davis Law Group. Did you know that a pedestrian does not have to be crossing the street on a marked crosswalk to have a successful legal claim against the driver? Pedestrians can even be partially at fault for a collision and still have a valuable claim. Call us today for a free consultation or get my free book on pedestrian accident law at WashingtonAccidentBooks.com. That's Davis Law Group, better service and even better results.
Is chronic pain beginning to make your everyday life a challenge? Then call Dr. Daniel Nelson, MD, with Eastside Pain and Regenerative Medicine. With over 30 years of experience, no one has more experience in pain medicine techniques and stem cell therapy than Dr. Nelson. And here's what a satisfied patient had to say.
I was experiencing severe neck pain, kind of radiating from my shoulders up into my head. And it was pretty severe, and it lasted for about a year. So I went to see Dr. Nelson, and after I got the stem cell treatment, I had positive results within a week, and it just got better from there. And to this day, I can't believe I used to be in such pain. He was just an incredible doctor. Everything about the place was just fantastic.
So don't let pain control your life. Consider stem cell therapy with Dr. Daniel Nelson, MD. Call 425-823-4000 today. That's 425-823-4000 or go to DanielNelsonMD.com.
Cougs versus everybody.
Let's go. Lots of communication. Here we go. Set your mind right with the right intentions. Let's go get it.
Washington State returns home this Saturday as they welcome Utah State to Giza Field. Kickoff is set for 7:30.
You go into any local restaurant, bar, whatever it is, you're going to see a Coug logo, and it means something to everybody here.
It's all on your home for Cougar football.
Catch the game this Saturday on AM 770 KTTH and on the Seattle Sports app.
Guys, your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, weight, and even ED. Schedule your free testosterone level check with the team at Revive Men's Health Seattle. Text the word BOOST, that's BOOST, to 65555 or visit revivemenshealth.com. Message and data rates apply. Message frequency varies. Text help for help and stop to cancel. ReviveMen'sHealth.com/privacy policy for how to opt in. Info will be used and ReviveMen'sHealth.com/terms of use for terms of service.
The Mike McDonald Show. The first word from the head coach after every Seahawks game.
We want to play a certain way, and you're just going to chisel away at it every day.
Presented by Emerald Queen Casino.
Matt Coker here from West Coast Men's Health. Guys, Viagra is not the answer for your problem. I know you think it is, but Viagra has horrible side effects, and for most men, the longer you're on it, the less it works. Viagra is not a curative medication. It's not fixing your problem. It's a Band-Aid for a shark bite. Acoustic wave therapy is the newest technology that can correct your problem, not just treat it. We can do something that no pill can do. We can restore your blood flow naturally. Get off Viagra today. Change your life like the thousands of men who already have, regardless of your age or your medical history. If you're tired of dealing with Peyronie's disease or erectile dysfunction, then call West Coast Men's Health today.
With clinics in Redmond and Tacoma, call 206-519-6541. That's 206-519-6541. 206-519-6541. Online at westcoastmenshealth.com.
Right now at Les Schwab, it's the deal you've been waiting for. The Score More sales event. Save up to $160 instantly on a wide selection of 4 tires and 4 wheels. Plus, every tire is covered by America's best tire warranty. 60-day satisfaction guarantee, no hassle road hazard protection, and free maintenance for the life of your tires. Just one more way you'll get more from less. Stop by the store or find your tires at leschwab.com. Limited time offer while supplies last. See leschwab.com/sale for details.
If your home's heating system is 10 years or older, it needs a tune-up. Your furnace and heat pump work extremely hard, and after 10 years, wear and tear can cause a failure. The last thing you want this winter. Deere Services is now offering a heating system tune-up with a no-breakdown guarantee and no service fees for just $49. A thorough inspection and recalibration for just $49. Visit DEARservices.net. Make an appointment, and we'll be there within 3 hours. Deere Services, Seattle Seahawks, small business partners.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Bump joining us from Corvallis ahead of the call for this Oregon State game. Let's take a look at the NFC West, Bump. The Seahawks, the only team not playing this weekend. They get a nice little well-timed bye. The 49ers, Rams, and Cardinals will, though. So let's talk about what's working and what's not for each NFC West team. Bump. We'll start with the 49ers. What's working for them, for you?
For me, what's working is the coaching, at least during the regular season and up until you get into like the conference championship and the Super Bowl, right? The coaching has been on point. When you have a running back who's gone in Christian McCaffrey and you put back in an undrafted free agent in Mason and he's still able to go back there and do his thing and be top 5 in the NFL when it comes to rushing yards, that means that the system is being taught and it doesn't matter who's back there. The guys up front are going to execute at a high level. So big ups to the coaching, to Shanahan and the rest of his crew over there, because I'm sure there's been turnover. When you have the success that the 49ers have had, there has to be turnover. So Shanahan's been able to bring new guys in year after year, teach that system. Those guys get other guys ready. The coaching has to be on point.
What's not working is obviously injuries. It's the very obvious answer for the 49ers. But, Bump, I'm kind of struck with what Robert Mays said to us. I think it was Robert. He went, the 49ers have been hurt, really banged up, missing some key starters. They're still 4-4, and no one's managed to really pull away yet. That is also telling about why people still have faith in San Francisco, right?
Yeah, because they're wounded, right? They went into the locker room, they went into the tent, got evaluated, came out with an ace bandage around the knee, and they're still out there competing. And I think that just shows their depth, but I also think it shows just where the division is too. If the Niners were 4-4 in any other division, it'd be tough for them right now. But they've done just enough to hang in there with the rest of us here in the NFC West.
Let's get to the Rams. Bump, they looked dead in the water 2 weeks ago. I miss those Rams. I miss the Rams that were 1-4 and looking to deal Cooper Kupp at the deadline. Where did those Rams go? What's working for them right now?
You got to look at the quarterback and the wide receivers. Those two, or those three, I should say. You can say those four now when you add everyone else in there, especially Robinson. They have a connection. These guys understand the offense. They know where to be. And Matthew Stafford throws some footballs in some tight situations, and they come down with the football. So that just tells me that Matthew Stafford not only is still capable of making a tough throw, but he believes that his wide receivers are going to come down with the rock. So the connection is great with those guys. With Puka, imagine what that game would have looked like if Puka still played. If he didn't get caught up in his emotions and punch somebody in the face, who knows what that game could have looked like. But you know what happened? Puka goes out, Robinson steps up. So it's the QB and the receivers over there. And low-key, Kyron Williams, man, I know he didn't have the game against the Seahawks. He's been playing well, but the first thing I see is just the OG at the quarterback spot and the receivers.
I think that's absolutely the reason people are still betting on them and not counting them out. There's also the history there with both the 49ers and Rams where you go, these two teams have either been in or won, in the case of the Rams, a Super Bowl in the last several seasons. You can't bet against them. You just can't. They have great coaching. I also wrote down sneaky good young DL. Like, they're up and down, but I thought that the defense would be so much more of a liability. But they are pretty good. And you and I found that to be the case, and Wyman, particularly during the huddle when, as we got closer to the game, we were like, I think the defense is better than we think.
Yeah, that D-line is impressive at times. I describe them as like if you go to a playground with your kids and you see just one or two kids that are just way more athletic. They're moving faster, jumping higher, but then they stumble and fall because they're still young. They're still trying to learn how to control that power and that explosiveness. That's what I see with that defensive line. There's no doubt how strong and fast and quick and great hands they have across the board, but then at times they stumble a little bit because you had no one starting on that defensive line that had more than 2 years of experience. So they're going to have their issues, but yeah, that D-line's for real.
Okay, so let's get to the Cardinals. What is working for Arizona, who are, shockingly, 5-4 in first place in the NFC West?
I think what's working, and it's on and off. Yeah. You know, it's Marvin Harrison and Kyler Murray. Marvin will have a great game and then he'll get banged up, have a great game, then he'll disappear. He's still learning how to be a pro when it comes to consistency. Now, health, you can't control that. That's up to the football gods. But they have legit weapons. They have a real running game. They have a good tight end. They have a number one and a number two receiver. We talk about teams building across the league. Low key, the Cardinals have been building a strong offense over there the last couple of years. So what's working is that Kyler Murray seems like he's evolving into a better leader. I still think his resting face is a pout face. I wish he could fix that, but he can't. It's just his face. But it's his face. But I feel like his teammates are responding a bit more to him, and they're buying into the corniness of Gannon. It's really who he is. Yeah. I think people will do that. Like, you can call somebody corny, but if they are just truly corny and that's just who they are, you buy into it. You're like, okay, I can get with it. I believe you.
Tell me if this is fair or not. Under what's not working for the Cardinals, I also just wrote history. This is a team that's finished fourth in the NFC West in the last two seasons, and the last time they made it to the playoffs, it was as a wild card, which would be fine on its face, except that season they started out 7-0 and then finished 11-6, just barely making it into the playoffs because they completely collapsed in the second half. So I said history working against them. Is that not fair when you've got a new head coach?
That's always a tough one.
Yeah.
Because we can look at the history of the Rams and the Seahawks and say, well, Mike McDonald's here, it should be different. Right. It wasn't different. Yeah. Right? They still found a way to win the ball game. So I think history plays a part of it, but I think most of it is just the guys on the football field. But history is history for a reason because it happened. And in this case, it keeps happening with the Cardinals. It keeps happening with the Seahawks and the Rams. So you got to respect it.
Let's get to the team we know best, the Seattle Seahawks. They're in last place at 5-4. Bump, they have really long odds to win the division in Vegas, but they're only a game back of first place. In real life, they're a game back of first place, a half game back of second and third place. What's working for Seattle?
What's working is the pass game. I know we can look at Geno's interceptions and wonder, okay, well, is the pass game really working? That's the best thing about this team right now is the pass game, despite the interceptions that Geno has. 10 of those things, I counted 4 yesterday that I felt like weren't his fault. But that's the best thing. You have JSN, who has shown that he can be a #1 receiver. DK, when he's healthy, he's ready to go. Tyler Lockett is he's that last piece of seasoning that you sprinkle on the chicken before you serve it. You know, he's just he's gonna make a big impact, but you're not really gonna see him much. You know what I'm saying? That's Tyler Lockett. So this is a little salt, a little pepper. But that's what's working with this team is the pass game, and that's something that they've had to lean on too much, unfortunately. I wish that the run game was working as well as the pass game, but man, Geno's throwing the rock.
Well, and on a very related note to the point you just made, let's talk about what's not working. Obviously, run defense is still part of this conversation, but big, bold, underlined offensive line for me. I'm assuming the case for you too.
Yeah, offensive line is the biggest struggle, and unfortunately, it feels like it's gotten worse. Like we went into this season thinking Abe Lucas is going to be all right, Cross is going to be okay. They just drafted a couple guys. They brought over some veterans. They made, on paper, the right moves. They bolstered up this offensive line. We felt like they were better, but it seems like they've been taking steps back when you look at the previous years. So that's what's not working is the offensive line. And I would say if this were probably a week prior, I would also say this takeaways, you know, because they haven't really been piling those up. But the last couple of weeks, they've been doing a better job at that. The highlight is the offensive line when it comes to what's not working. Faux show.
I think what I really am sitting with after this exercise, looking at all these teams, is if I were not covering the Seahawks, I would feel most comfortable in the Rams or 49ers winning this division. And quite honestly, if I was a betting man, I would take the Seahawks to finish last. That's just kind of what the season feels like. But it's also serving as a reminder that the 49ers still have injury issues. They're not getting Brandon Ayuk back while they're getting Christian McCaffrey back in Week 10, and that's great. They're still waiting on Hufanga to see if he's going to be able to play. They don't have Javon Hargrave this season. There's still going to be a banged-up 49er squad. Likewise, the Rams are still going to have some questions on defense. They're still young. Even if they're promising, they're still young. And you really never know with the Cardinals. So I guess I'm trying to give myself some hope in like a silver lining look at the NFC West, if that makes sense. How do you still see the division?
I see the division, it's wide open. In reality, it is wide open. 4-5, 4-4s, Cardinals at the top, it's there. But I think that within the next couple of weeks, we're really going to figure out who is who. If the 49ers can get this win, they're going to bump up. If the Rams can get their win, I think just we have to accept that the Seahawks are in 4th place right now, and they need something to happen for them to get some help. What does the help look like? Is it a player emerging and playing out of his mind? Is it a team getting banged up and dropping a few games? Whatever it is, the Hawks need some help. So it's theirs to lose at this point, but it's still tight.
Well, if the Hawks decide to stick with Geno Smith moving forward, that's going to eventually require an extension. How much money are we talking here? That's next.
For Down Territory, going inside the game with former Cougs and Seahawks wide receiver Michael Bumpus.
First down, the Seahawks worked out 4 tight ends this week. What does it mean for the position group?
So we know Noah Fan is banged up. Word on the street is he's not going to the IR. So this is a temporary fix is what they're trying to do. And who knows if they sign these guys. But N'Keal Harry, remember that guy? He was drafted before our guy, DK Metcalf. Man, so he's moved to the tight end spot. If you get N'Keal Harry, you're looking for a pass catcher.
For Down Territory, every day at 11:15 and 1:15 on Bump and Stacy.
Hey, what's up? It's Michael Bumpus. I want to talk to you guys about my dudes at Contour Fence, man. They're locally owned and operated, serving the Puget Sound since 1984. I'm in Corvallis right now. I'm driving the streets, and my eyes automatically go to these fences. I'm looking at them. They're leaning. They're rotten. There's panels missing. I'm thinking, y'all should hit up my guys at Contour Fence. They specialize in residential and commercial fencing solutions, as well as fence repairs. You can schedule a free consultation directly on their website. When you go to the website, make sure you use the code HAWKS10 for 10% off any repair and replacement. It's very easy to navigate. They have over 1,000 reviews of satisfied customers, or you can call them 425-481-7128. You got options. Go to the website, contourfence.com, or call them 425-481-7128, Contour Fence.
You're free now. Free to fill your feed with impossibly chunky chunkers who chunk harder than you ever thought possible.
Cats, corgis, babies, baby penguins, baby pandas, chunky baby pandas.
Free to make your smart devices do silly things. Free to open a world of remote work and a portal into Gametopia.
Who's the boss now?
Free to be everything you imagine, and then some. That's how it feels to have Quantum Fiber Internet. Quantum Fiber, your world unleashed. Learn more at quantumfiber.com. Limited availability, service in select locations only.
O'Brien Auto Group has some of the best new car brands in the Northwest. Those great new vehicles make the best pre-owned vehicles as well. O'BrienAutoGroup.com for the best factory certified vehicles. O'BrienAutoGroup.com for a large selection of the best pre-owned cars and trucks. O'BrienAutoGroup.com. Choose from hundreds of SUVs, trucks, hybrids, EVs, and more. O'BrienAutoGroup.com. One site is all you need. That's OBRIEN Autogroup.com.
O'Brien. Are you curious about who offers the best deals on top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs? The answer is surprising. It's not online, and it's not the warehouse clubs. The best deals on top-rated TVs are at Video Only. Don't believe it? Then check out the trade-in deals at Video Only. How about $500 for your old TV? Try doing that online. Before you buy that new TV, drop into Video Only. If you don't, you'll be sorry.
Are you constantly dealing with a runny nose, nasal congestion, or stuffiness? Always having to clear your throat or coughing? I'm Dr. Ryan Stern with the Stern Sinus Center. Rhine Air is a simple, non-invasive procedure that can significantly reduce your symptoms. This long-lasting treatment is available here in my office. In a clinical study, 88% of Rhine Air patients experienced a significant reduction in their symptoms. We're proud the Stern Sinus Center was recently named a nationwide center of excellence. Schedule your appointment in Auburn or Federal Way or go to sternsinus.com.
What's your holiday tradition? Now, if you're like me, it involves gathering around a big meal to celebrate. Well, what if there's no food on the table? Hey, it's G. Scott. This year, help someone less fortunate celebrate the holidays by supporting Nourishing Neighbors. The Nourishing Neighbors program provides grocery cards to the people who are the most impacted by food insecurity. So make a donation next time that you're at Safeway and help make sure everyone is welcome at the table for the holidays. Go to nourishingneighbors.com to learn more.
Headed outdoors or on the water this weekend? Check in with Joey and Nellie on the Outdoor Line from 6 to 8 a.m. every Saturday on seattlesports.com.
Hey, it's Mike Salk here for my friends at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Yes, I said and hotel. If you're looking for a fun night out, Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel is just the place to go. Whether it's Vista Prime Steak and Seafood with their reimagined happy hour or Falls Buffet as well. The breathtaking views of the Snoqualmie Valley and Mount Si. You can find all the details at snocasino.com. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Only 30 minutes from downtown. Seattle's closest, Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
Now that the rain is here, I remember my conversation with Anthony, the owner of Asset Roofing, about metal roofs. And not only are metal roofs not loud when it rains, they're more eco-friendly, last twice as long, and Asset Roofing can do them for up to 30% less than their competitors. You can find out more at AssetRoofingCo.com. That's AssetRoofingCo.com.
Certified work that's never in doubt. Asset Roofing, excellence is on the house.
Seattle is home to Swedish CyberKnife, a non-invasive and highly precise treatment for prostate cancer. Swedish CyberKnife is the only CyberKnife center in the Pacific Northwest. Compared with other radiation treatments, which can last 6 to 9 weeks, CyberKnife treatment is much shorter, typically 5 days or less. CyberKnife advanced robotic technology can track your slightest body movement, adjusting in real time to deliver radiation with extreme accuracy, sparing healthy tissue. The vast majority of patients experience minimal side effects and can continue normal activities during treatment. CyberKnife offers curative cancer treatment while minimizing side effects and disruption to a patient's life. The experienced CyberKnife team has helped advance the field with research, protocols, and published findings. Swedish CyberKnife treats patients from all over Washington state. If you, a friend, or family member is diagnosed with prostate cancer, go to swedish.org/cyberknifeprostate. Treat prostate cancer with Swedish CyberKnife.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Well, Bump, some people are about to get paid at the end of this NFL season. We just don't know who they're going to be yet. Geno Smith is eligible for a contract extension. DK Metcalf, Charles Cross, many other players, and that's not even including free agents the team will go after. Let's talk just about Geno. Because one of the conversations that everyone has with Geno, in fact, this perfect example, this happened yesterday. You and I were talking about Geno's interceptions, and you were saying, look, here's some context for some of them. I'm not saying all of them are excusable, but some of them are. And someone texted in, and I don't mind people texting in that disagree, but I'm using this as an example. And he said, okay, but is it going to be worth this play at $50 million? So it's certainly something fans are thinking of. Like, is Geno worth the money that he's going to be paid with his next contract? Do I want to move on? And all of that is kind of seeping into just analysis about Geno this year. So let's just get to it. Dan Graziano was on with us, and you asked him, hey, what do you think the market value is going to be for a Geno contract?
Any starting caliber quarterback is going to get picked up. The question is, what would he be worth on the open market contract-wise? And obviously, I think the way he's played, the answer is probably more than the Seahawks are paying him. They got a nice deal on that contract after his first good year as a starter there. And it's conceivable he'd want more. But, look at Baker Mayfield, right? After the year he had in Tampa, he gets 3 years and $100 million, right? So it's like 33 a year. And that's a year after Geno got 3 years and $75 million. So that gives you a sense of where these guys that are kind of in their second, third chapters and having success, like how the league looks at them.
That is not top 5 quarterback money. Bump, is that where you see Baker Mayfield's contract? Is that where you see Geno kind of landing?
Yeah, I don't think, people are worried about $50 million. If Geno were to go out this year and throw for 4,500 yards and have 30 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, then I think we're talking about, all right, he probably should get paid around with Jalen Hurts or Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes on annual value, right? 45 to $50 million. What's happening this year, he's having a turnover issue. He's not producing the touchdowns like we thought he would. There's still time left in the season. Who knows how things are going to turn around. But they're using – it's almost like the Seahawks, the management, the people who control the money are looking at this year and saying, man, it's unfortunate he's not playing as well as we thought he could, but it's going to help us when it comes to negotiating this thing. I think that's it. And for $35 million, $30 to $35 million, Geno for 2 or 3 more years, I'm taking it. For sure, I'm taking it. And then you could draft another quarterback or look to trade for another quarterback because you don't know if you can find anyone that's even capable of doing what Geno's doing in the draft. And you're definitely not going to pay $50, $60 million for a veteran out there. Again, I think you might get another deal if that's what it comes to.
I think it just depends how much you feel as a fan that you're close to being a contender. If you feel like you're pretty close, stick with someone you know can perform like Geno. If you feel like rolling the dice, like the 4-6-9 in Texas, they said, why not maybe get like a Joe Milton or a cheap quarterback who's young via trade in the offseason? Bump, what would you think if the team decided to just throw out skill and experience and be like, let's just go young with a roll of the dice?
I'm not mad at that. Not at all. I'm not mad at that scenario. But the only thing that worries me about that is how ready is your team? When you look at the Seahawks right now, how close are they, do you think, to being top 4 3 teams in the conference. I think they are a couple offensive linemen away and a defensive performance or 2 away from being that, because they have so many weapons. But I think Geno and DK are going to be connected. What are you willing to spend on DK? What are you willing to spend on Geno? That's going to be the tough part, because DK elevates his offense, and so does Geno. What does his offense look like without one or the other? That might be the case. So if you do go with a younger guy, I'm all right with it, but I think that as a fan in the organization, you have to realize, okay, we're going to take another step back, because not too many rookies are going to come in the league and light things up like C.J. Stroud did last year and Jaden Daniels is doing this year.
Do you think it's fair for people to say, I don't want to get in this Kirk Cousins limbo? Like, I don't want to be in this place where we're playing a good quarterback, a good chunk of money, but not necessarily winning playoff games with him.
You're not going to get into Kirk Cousins, because Geno's not going to get Kirk Cousins money. He just ain't.
Very good point.
It is what it is. The league has their mind made up on Geno, and the fact that he's here getting 25 goes against everything the league thought about him. So they're still going to view him in a certain light and only pay him X amount of dollars. I understand the concerns for that, but I just don't think that'd be the case with Geno.
Joe in Bellevue, don't we have a young guy on the roster right now? I just think that, and in fact, I've now gotten back-to-back texts with people asking about Sam Howell. Bump, I just think if you are willing to roll the dice on a season and say, let's just try out Sam and try out a younger guy, then fine. I think that Geno helps you compete short term. And if you feel like you can compete next year, you keep Geno. Do you feel that way? What do you think about people who say, hey, you have Sam Howell on the roster?
I say that is a valuable option, and I understand why people would want to see what's going on there. I know people who know people who know people who say Sam just ain't ready. He just ain't ready, you know, and if they feel like he's not ready, then they're not going to roll the dice on him. But if you are going to go the younger route where you're going to get a younger quarterback, I understand. Why not just go with Sam Howell and see what he can do? Completely understand that. You can go Sam Howell and still go get yourself a younger quarterback and figure some things out. That's the thing, is that there's so many possibilities. There's so many directions you can go. You can sign Geno, get a younger quarterback to back him up and develop. You could let Geno walk, sign DK instead, bring Sam Howell up and go get another quarterback. Any situation, any direction you go is going to end up with you developing another quarterback behind Geno, whether that be Sam Howell or somebody else. So, yeah, I think all possibilities are there. Me personally, if I'm going to get Geno for $30 million and then I could develop behind him, I'm doing it.
I just wanted the main point of this segment to, and I'm glad that we did that, to be, look, whether or not you pay Geno, that's a fun conversation to have. How you move forward at quarterback, that's a conversation that Bump and I are going to have months down the road, and I look forward to it. But in terms of how much might Geno be paid, here's an NFL insider saying not like a top 5 guy. Look at someone like Baker Mayfield and think of that as a comparable salary. So that's at least some number for us all to have moving forward. Hey, don't forget, you can listen to the Bump and Stacey podcast on seattlesports.com, Apple, Spotify, wherever it is you get your podcast. We are going to let Bump go and get ready for a big game out at Oregon State. Bump, thanks for hanging out with us today.
I appreciate you guys dealing with the echo behind me. I'm in this big room all by myself, so
Giant
I'll
media
let y'all on Monday. Yeah, it's crazy. I appreciate y'all.
Bye, Bump. See ya. All right. Coming up, we are going to bring on the 33rd team, Sam Monson, to take a look around the NFL ahead of Week 10. Don't go anywhere.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
There was some hope that perhaps they would address the O-line issues at the trade deadline. They did not.
I didn't expect that there was going to be a lot of offensive linemen out there. Just because, it's so hard to find good offensive linemen. You just kill for that right now, right? I mean, for the Seahawks, especially with all the injuries at right tackle. So that was my perception, that nobody wants to trade good offensive linemen, that they're just such a premium.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest. The best place to watch all your favorite sports. Featuring wall-to-wall viewing screens, 6 windows, and 30 kiosks. Be there at emeraldqueen.com. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
At the UPS Store, we know being a small business owner means holiday time is still go time. Still get those orders shipped time. And still re-up on stamps and supplies time. That's why this upcoming holiday, while others close up shop, we'll be open and happy to help you keep being unstoppable. Come into your local store today. Most locations are independently owned. Product services, pricing, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS Store. Be unstoppable.
Febreze. So my home is also my office. And before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up, then spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. This time of year is decision time for a lot of people, but it's also when you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For many families, joining MediShare means saving about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people, obviously. But what's more, MediShare members like it a lot. Their satisfaction rate is 98%. Imagine that. And MediShare is a proven thing, too, for over 30 years. It's a Christian community of hundreds of thousands of people now. And here's the thing. If you join before November 15th and you mention the promo code SHARE, they'll waive your application fee. So you save even more right off the bat. I'll give you the number here in a second, but just call and you'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline is November 15th. So call now. You'll save even more. Here's the number. 877-26-BIBLE. That's 877-26-BIBLE. 877-26-BIBLE.
0% financing. Yes, Mazda of Everett is offering 0% financing. 0% financing available on new Mazda CX-5s. 0% financing available on new Mazda CX-30s. 0% financing available on new Mazda CX-50s. 0% financing available on new Mazda CX-90s. Shop over 600 new Mazdas, available with 0% financing. Shop MazdaofEverett.com and click Get the Mazda of Everett price. MazdaofEverett.com.
Direct savings and client focus, the cornerstones of the Diamond Dave philosophy.
Hi, I'm Diamond Dave Cantor. My team and I at Cantor Diamond can be your trusted friends with an inside scoop on the diamond world.
Just like they are to thousands of people around the world.
And just like we have been for over 34 years.
At Cantor Diamond, it's all about the diamonds and the savings, not paying for high-end retail locations or the overhead of a mall.
You stand to save big time with our by-appointment professional office approach, combined with direct importing.
When you choose Cantor Diamond, you choose huge savings, top quality, and excellent service. Call, email, or message us for an in-person appointment.
Or sit back and relax for free FedEx shipping anywhere in the USA.
Call Diamond Dave at 253-272-7007. That's 253-272-7007. Or follow them on Instagram at Cantor Diamond. That's at KANTOR Diamond.
Lead generation is one of the most important aspects of any marketing campaign. So let us help you identify your target audience and market your products or services to them. Go to aimyourdigital.com today. aimyourdigital.com.
I'm Bradley Johnson with 1-800-DUI-AWAY, and I want to talk to you about football. It's exciting when Seattle fans shake the earth. You can even feel that energy on your 100-inch variable refresh QLED surround sound 7.1. At 1-800-DUI-AWAY, we know that enjoying the game often involves alcohol. And the police know it too. Have fun, be responsible on game day, and pace yourself. If you feel sacked in the fourth quarter, get a designated driver to take you to your end zone. If you get carried away with too many Bloody Marys after too many Hail Marys, call for a timeout. You get the point. Be safe. Call 1-800-DUI-AWAY or go to 1-800-DUI-AWAY.com. Watching the game in your blue and green jersey is a lot more fun than wearing an orange jumpsuit.
1-800-DUI-AWAY.
Let's go! This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
Trevor Lawrence is unlikely to start Sunday against the Vikings per Jags head coach Doug Peterson. If he's out, that means Mac Jones, former Patriots first-round pick, will get the start. C.J. Beathard is the backup. For Trevor Lawrence, this would be just the second game missed in his career. Aaron Boone will return as manager of the Yankees next season. The team announced that this morning. They exercised a 2025 club option for that deal. What they're really focused on, though, is keeping another name, Juan Soto. He'll be the top free agent this winter, with the World Series winning Dodgers also reportedly pursuing him.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time.
This hour is brought to you by Floor Coverings International.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bump and Stacy
on Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
Here we go now. Joining us now on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline, it's the 33rd team, Sam Monson. Make sure you download Sam's podcast. Check the mic wherever you get your pods and listen to him right now. Sam, how's it going?
It's going well. How about you guys?
Fantastic. Get a nice little week off to just kick back and watch Red Zone. That also means getting a close look at the other three teams in the NFC West. That is where I'm going to start. Sam, do you still favor the 49ers here? And what do you think we could see with the return of McCaffrey here against the Bucs?
Yeah, I think we're going to get a good idea of how important Christian McCaffrey is to that team now that he's returned. I think they've actually done a reasonable job with all the injuries that they've had and all the absences of kind of papering it over, but they've lost a lot of games. And, you know, they're going to rue some of the games that they've dropped, I think, because they've actually played pretty well against good teams, but then they lose games like Arizona, games like the Rams, the games within the division that are going to be really costly. The Vikings are their own sort of little asterisk with that Brian Flores defense. It seems to particularly cause problems for those Shanahan offenses. But I think you watch the 49ers and you still get the impression that as much as they haven't been what they were expected to be, as much as they've dropped some games, they still have the potential to get healthy and become not just a playoff team, but one of the better teams in the conference.
Sam, looking at the other teams in the NFC West, the Cardinals sit atop the division right now at 5-4, but looking at their wins and losses, all their losses have come against good teams that are firmly in the playoff hunt. So is this maybe sort of a house of cards, or is this a team that you're believing in here in the season's second half?
I think they're a really difficult team to pin down. They can have sort of good games or bad games seemingly without rhyme or reason in any given week. I think ultimately they're a well-coached team on both sides of the ball. They definitely have personnel limitations, especially on defense. But the offense has got some talent and can definitely make noise. So I think sometimes they just run against teams where if their star players are not playing perfectly, they're not going to find a way to win. But if Kyler Murray plays really well, if the run game works, if they're able to get things going, then they can challenge pretty much anybody.
Let's head back to Seattle. I always like hearing a national perspective on what the Seahawks look like. And Sam, I might be able to list out, 5 problems immediately for this team. But what do you see as maybe the single biggest issue?
I think the single biggest issue is what it was on paper heading into the season. That offensive line has had problems this season. They've been banged up, so it's not necessarily a failing of the starting 5 if they get the starting 5 every week, but they haven't. And when they've been forced into the bench, it's definitely had weaknesses that can be attacked. And then I think it's been made look worse, so the problem has been magnified by DK Metcalf being out of the lineup. I think he's the one guy that they don't have a replacement for his skill set anywhere else on that receiving core. They can kind of get the things that they get from JSN or from Tyler Lockett from other places, but with no DK Metcalf there, that takes away a very unique threat to this offense, and also sort of takes a knock against the thing that Geno Smith does best. His deep ball is spectacular, and when you take away the best deep threat on the team, the guy that you want isolated in one-on-one coverage on the outside, it reduces the impact that Geno Smith can have.
Sam, sticking with the Seahawks offensive line, GM John Schneider was on with this station in the offseason and a soundbite of his that a lot of people have been replaying and going back to is him saying that guards specifically are a position that gets overdrafted and overpaid, and that can kind of explain why the Seahawks maybe not have made significant investments in that spot. What do you make of a front office member saying that about a specific position group, and do you think that kind of explains why the Seahawks have had as many struggles on the offensive line as they've had?
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, you could come out of that draft and say, well, he's been proved right. I mean, they didn't go after a guy in the first round. They elected to wait, and they end up getting somebody like Christian Haynes in the third round later on. You're like, well, given what we saw from him in college, that's a great pick. That completely justifies, what John Schneider was saying, and they look really smart for doing that. They get an impact defensive lineman, they wait on the position of lesser value, and they get what we thought was a really good player later on in the draft. But Haynes has struggled in the lineup. He hasn't cracked the lineup initially, and then when he's been on the field, he hasn't looked as good as we would have hoped. So maybe now, with the benefit of some games under your belt, you look at that and say, well, yeah, but you might have gone a different direction. So I think it's tough. Look, it is a reasonable point of view. It's interesting to articulate it in front of everybody and, put yourself out there for that kind of "I told you so" later in the season. But it's not an unreasonable way of approaching roster construction. It's definitely not clear that he's wrong, big picture.
Knowing that offensive line is an issue that they'll need to fix with some actual, probably in all likelihood, personnel additions. Would that be your primary focus if you were in Seattle's front office? Would you start looking at, I know it's silly to ask quarterback. I ask because we have so many people that go, should you go younger there? What would be a kind of your number one priority if you were a rebuilding team like Seattle?
Yeah, I think it would definitely be the offensive line. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean, it needs to be the top of the draft. I think offensive tackle, they need to make sure that right tackle spot is as good as the left tackle spot. Obviously, Charles Cross looks fantastic, and that's an example of, a high pick spent on the offensive line, albeit a tackle rather than the interior. They need to make sure the other side is strong at right tackle. So I think that's definitely an area of focus. And then, look, the quarterback situation, Geno Smith's a really good player, but he's not the youngest, and it's such an important position that you should always have your eye out. And I think particularly when you're talking about developmental or backup quarterbacks, I still think there's value and there's merit in always just kicking the tires in the draft, spending a day 3 pick on a guy that has some tools that you like and could potentially develop, and keep him around and keep him in the building and see if maybe in a couple of years he's the next Geno Smith. He's a guy that was that had some time on the sideline to learn and develop, and without the pressure of having to step in and start right away.
Sam, it was a phenomenal Thursday night football game last night up until the missed face mask call again for the second time in about 4 weeks. On Thursday Night Football, we see a game significantly impacted by the refs swallowing their whistle on what was one of the game's final plays. I want to know from you, just where do you think the NFL goes in terms of replay in those kinds of situations? Do you think that face masking should be a reviewable play? And then kind of where does it end in terms of reviewing penalties and stuff like that? Because we saw pass interference, that was reviewable for a season. Then they're like, nope, we don't need that anymore. Where do you think we see this whole thing kind of end up?
Yeah, it is important to sort of say that it becomes a very fuzzy line. Once you open the door to this kind of thing, it's very difficult to know where to draw the line. And as you said, some things are clearly too far. Pass interference was sufficiently subjective that reviewing every pass interference was just an absolute nightmare because it never matched what you thought you saw in the replay. I do think the biggest problem is not that the plays themselves are not reviewable. It's that currently the NFL does not have a system where the bunch of people watching the games on monitors in New York in the league office can connect to the officials and correct a missed call. They can correct the penalty that's been called that was clearly wrong. They can say, no, you got that wrong, pick up the flag. They can't do it the other way around. And that's cost them multiple games this season that have effectively been decided by a blown call, by a missed call. That is a ridiculous scenario. Like, other sports don't do it that way. The guy is empowered to call down to fix obvious errors or obvious misses. I mean, not just obvious mistakes where a flag has come out, but a mistake where a flag didn't come out and it should have. So I think, that's why every sport has some kind of language like clear and obvious error, right? It's obviously a subjective line where exactly that is, but that's what they need to shoot for. Let New York contact the officials and fix clear and obvious mistakes, even if they're ones where they didn't see the penalty.
It's a perfect answer because for me, and Curtis and I were talking about this earlier, Sam, with face masks especially, it happened or it didn't. It's not this thing where, they go, oh, well, we aren't quite sure what to call there. It's subjective. It's so easy to review a no call on a face mask because you can see very clearly whether a face mask was touched. What do you think the league's pushback is against reviewing no calls? Is it that they only want it, within 2 minutes? Is it that they don't want to question refs? Like, why would they push back against that?
I don't think they want a huge involvement in the kind of New York, rugby calls it a TMO, a television match official. The UFL called it a sky judge, or whichever league was running it. They don't want that guy to have a kind of oppressive involvement in the game and be buzzing down, to fix everything. And that's a difficult line to tread. Like, rugby has dealt with this. They gave the TMO too much power. Now they're trying to rein it back. It is awkward, but you have to start somewhere. Like, that guy needs to be able to fix, again, the most clear and obvious errors that are defining and changing games, particularly because every time it's happened this year, it's been on an island, nationally televised game. Like, it couldn't be more kind of in everybody's face.
Sam, what do you make of a lot of young quarterbacks struggling in the NFL right now? Not Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams to a lesser extent, but guys like Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson who have been in and out of the starting lineup this season. We saw Richardson get benched a couple weeks ago. Young has been benched. Now he's back to starting with Carolina. What do you make of quarterback development right now in 2024 in the NFL?
I think there's a few things all happening at once. Number one, there was a run for a number of years of sort of super athletic trait type quarterbacks all working out, right? Whether it was Mahomes, Deshaun Watson before he sort of fell off his career early during his time in Houston, Justin Herbert, this sort of sequence of high-end athlete quarterbacks had all worked out. I think that changed the way people were willing to go after these players. So somebody like Anthony Richardson, without all of those players working out, I don't think gets drafted where he got drafted. He got drafted because of the tools and the traits and the projection, but he wasn't even good in college. I mean, he was a project, right? A huge project. And in the past, those guys would have been drafted much lower down. Bryce Young was a historical outlier in terms of size. Now, he was a very good player in college, but he's like 5'10", 185. That's unprecedented effectively in the modern era in terms of being a good NFL quarterback. I think without, again, previous guys that have sort of readjusted that baseline, Kyler Murray, even Baker Mayfield, Russell Wilson, I don't think he would have been drafted as high as he was. But a few players that have worked out, I think, have sort of changed how the NFL assessed quarterbacks and gave those guys the benefit of the doubt. They also went to bad situations in Bryce Young's case. No offensive line, no receivers to speak of because they traded away DJ Moore in order to get him in the first place. The coaching situation there was a mess. So he really had no shot in terms of the situation he landed in. And then the other problem is they don't get developed anymore. There is no pathway really for young quarterbacks to be developed, particularly if they have to start right away because Kyle Shanahan has talked about this. They don't do anything in terms of mechanics or, really coaching them up on a fundamental level in season. It's all week-to-week game plan stuff. They don't have time to correct, a tick in his mechanics or his footwork or his drop back or what he's reading. It's all focusing on the next game. So if you have a quarterback that's starting day one, when is he supposed to improve? When is he supposed to learn other than simple trial and error in the snaps he gets during the game?
Well, and I know that people say comparison is a thief of joy. It's also a thief of context, because something that I hear so often are people saying, well, why can't Bryce Young be C.J. Stroud? And not only are these two quarterbacks with exceptionally different physical skill sets going to different teams, different head coaching situations, but you look at C.J. Stroud's rookie season, and that's an anomaly that people aren't willing to more closely examine. Like, he had a wonderful year. I'm so excited about his development, but do you think that we as fans focus too much of the spotlight on anomalies for rookie seasons and don't quite have an understanding of like what a rookie typically looks like?
Yeah, definitely. And you know, throughout history, most rookie quarterbacks have always been pretty bad.
Yeah.
There's always been the occasional outlier that sort of breaks everybody's perception and expectation. I mean, Russell Wilson was really good right out of the gate. Dak Prescott was really good right out of the gate. Like, there's always somebody that comes along and completely breaks everybody's expectations. You know, well, if this guy can do it, why can't everybody else? But most rookie quarterbacks are not good players. And the league has gotten even more difficult. I mean, look at what, you know, Minnesota, Brian Flores' defense, that's making every quarterback it faces look lost and confused and completely in over their head. The defenses now are more complicated, more deceptive. They show more misdirection and trickery and disguise than they ever have before. Meanwhile, college offenses have kind of simplified everything. So they're coming from these systems that are not as complex as they used to be, and they're seeing defenses that are more complex than they've ever seen. So I think the job is getting harder, and yeah, there are going to be guys that are able to do it and hit the ground running, but everybody else, the expectation should probably be young quarterbacks are not good.
Make sure you download Sam Monson's podcast, Check the Mic, wherever you get your podcast. The latest is a Week 10 preview to get you ready for this weekend. Thanks so much, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Anytime, guys. Take it easy.
It is a Football Friday powered by the Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Let's get to 4 Down territory.
This is 4 Down territory, going inside the game with former Seahawks and Coug wide receiver Michael Bumpus.
First down to you, Stacy. A lot of crazy coming from last night's Bengals-Ravens game, but there's an insane stat you found from this one. Tell us about it.
So this is not one I generated. This is from OptaStats, but I found it. I found it on
You
Twitter.
can take credit for it.
From OptaStats, there have been 2 instances in NFL history. I need you guys to NFL history where a quarterback had 30-plus completions, 300-plus passing yards, 4 or more touchdown passes, multiple 40-plus yard touchdown passes, and no more than 1 interception.
It's a pretty good day.
And still lost. 2 instances in NFL history where that has happened. It was Joe Burrow against the Ravens last night, and Joe Burrow against the Ravens in Week 5. Both games belong to Joe Burrow. And it got me thinking of, you know, when you watch, what's the Twitter account? It's a fantastic Twitter account that shows you if a home run would have been a home run in which ballparks around the league. And you know when you get to one where it's like, this would have been a home run in 29 other parks except for T-Mobile.
Except
and you're like,
for that one. It's like,
that's
really?
how Bengals fans and Joe Burrow must feel with just like, this was perfect. This should have been enough. This performance in every other game in NFL history would have been a win, but it wasn't in these 2 instances.
I really hope the Bengals don't punt their future by being cheap with guys like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
I wouldn't be surprised if they were.
They did pay Joe Burrow, but man, like when you have somebody as good as him and you aren't doing everything you can to surround him with the best talent and to make sure that talent stays long term, like, God, the Bengals, they made that one Super Bowl, made it to an AFC Championship game, I believe the following season, lost in controversial fashion, but like, you got to be doing everything you can to ensure that those kinds of performances don't go to waste.
Exactly.
Second down. Tell us about an underrated area of concern you have for the Seahawks.
Now, this will not surprise many of you, but others may not have realized just how bad it was. The Seahawks are leading the league in penalties, and in particular, lead the league in false starts. So you've probably felt like you're seeing yellow a lot. You know what I mean? Plenty of laundry out on the field during these games, but that's not just in your head. Number 1. We're number 1 in a certain category. It's just not one you want. It's one thing to get a really bad roughing the passer call like Derek Hall got last time, or maybe a questionable offensive holding call during the play. Like, those suck, right? But you cannot keep hurting yourself with penalties like false starts that are otherwise completely in your control. or illegal formation on offense. You know what I mean? Things that like pre-snap penalties or things that are completely within your control. As for which player is leading the most penalized team in penalties, Curtis, do you want to guess?
So on the Seahawks,
leading the team in penalties.
It's not Stone Forsythe, is it?
It is not, but you are very, very close.
Anthony Bradford?
It's Anthony
Okay.
Bradford. So obviously that's something that both he and the rest of the offensive line and this team need to tighten up.
Third down. Stacey, a conversation about bad calls had you thinking about two players from two other teams. Who are they, and what do we need to know?
Okay, so I know that this sounds kind of confusing, but bear with me here. It's a really interesting column. ESPN's Kevin Seifert, who is a fantastic voice for looking at rules and rule changes and penalties in the NFL, he looked at the difficulty of deciding whether or not a penalty for a player is flagrant. So I know we were just having a conversation with Sam about face masks and no calls. This is slightly separate, but still it's about subjective calls in sports. So Kevin looks at two controversial hits from this past weekend. The first was Dolphins safety Jordan Poyer, who was penalized for a hit on Bills receiver Keon Coleman. That actually really injured Coleman. I don't think he's going to play this weekend. The second is Lions safety Brian Branch, who was penalized and ejected for a hit on Packers wide receiver Bo Melton, and then, as you know, flipped off the crowd on his way out. Later apologized for it, but respect. Dean Blandino is quoted in the article, and his problem is that these two hits are very similar. So he's not saying, hey, Brian Branch should not have been ejected. What he's saying is, well, why wasn't Jordan Poyer? And that's kind of the problem, right? An ejection of a really good starting safety in a really important game for your team, like a divisional game, is impactful. And if you're going to do that to that one team, you better make sure that anytime another player in the league does the same thing, he is also ejected. So it's really hard to look at two plays that look the same and say, well, why wasn't that guy? I don't think this is the league or refs being favorable to the Dolphins. They're a 2-win team. The league doesn't care about the Dolphins. But it just illustrates how two very similar penalties can have drastically different outcomes, and that's something the league still needs to work through.
Fourth down. Tell us a game this weekend that should be especially interesting for Seahawks fans in particular.
Now, we all know you guys are and should be watching the rest of these NFC West games. You're going to have the Cardinals playing in the afternoon slot. You are going to have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the 49ers at 10 a.m. And then for Monday night, you're going to have the Rams playing. But Texans-Lions on Sunday night is the one I'm really interested in. Here's why. This is a meeting of maybe the worst offensive line in the league against the best. So I find offensive line a very, very difficult position to evaluate. And sometimes when you watch your team's offensive line week in and week out, that starts to become an average for you and just kind of, you know what I mean? Like you just kind of know what offensive line play looks like within that spectrum. So I think it's really cool to have a game with two drastically different talent levels on either side of the ball where we can literally see, down for down, what an elite offensive line looks like and what a really struggling one looks like. I just find it a very interesting way to compare play. And it's also interesting to watch both quarterbacks. I mean, Jared Goff is having like a quiet MVP season. He's not going to get it, but he is doing exactly what they're asking him to do, which is just be efficient. And on the other side, you've got CJ Stroud, who's doing his best to overcome missing wide receivers and a bad offensive line and is a really young, exciting player. So quarterbacks make it the headline for the national audience, but everyone's going to be in Seattle watching to see some really interesting offensive line play. Everyone loves Freddie Freeman. Who doesn't? He talks about his Game 1 walk-off grand slam against with the Kelsey brothers next.
Fourth down territory. Going inside the game with former Cougs and Seahawks wide receiver Michael Bumpus.
First down, the Seahawks worked out 4 tight ends this week. What does it mean for the position group?
So we know Noah Fan is banged up. Word on the street is he's not going to the IR. So this is a temporary fix is what they're trying to do. And who knows if they sign these guys. But N'Keal Harry, remember that guy? He was drafted before our guy, DK Metcalf. And so he's moved to the tight end spot. If you get N'Keal Harry, you're looking for a pass catcher.
Fourth down territory. Every day at 11:15 and 1:15 on Bumpin' Stacy.
Hey, this is Stacey Rost, and if you're looking for top-notch service for your plumbing, heating, and air needs, look no further than Ben's Plumbing, Heating, and Air. For over 25 years, Ben's has been providing 5-star service to our community. Their team of experienced professionals are dedicated to making sure you get the best service possible. That means no pressure. No gimmicks, just honest, reliable work. From routine maintenance to emergency repairs, Ben's has got you covered. With their no-pressure sales approach, you can rest easy, knowing you're only getting the services you actually need without unnecessary upsells. So, whether it's a leaky faucet, a broken heater, or an AC on the fritz, trust the experts with over a quarter century of excellence. Call Ben's Plumbing, Heating, and Air today at 206-789-5353 or benz.plumbing. Ben's Plumbing, Heating, and Air, where 5-star service meets no-pressure sales.
Tired of unwanted clutter taking over your space? Say goodbye to it all with Happy Hauler, Seattle's eco-friendly junk removal service. Tune in to KIRO News Radio 97.3 FM for Home Matters featuring Happy Hauler, Saturday, November 16th at 2 p.m. Discover how Happy Hauler can help you declutter and reclaim your home, all while donating as much as possible to those in need. Make yourself, your family, and your community happy. Go to happyhauler.com, hauling with a heart.
Your favorite Seattle sports show is available anywhere you go through the Seattle Sports app. Brought to you by Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center Proton Therapy. Full shows and interviews, exclusive video and articles from the home of the Seahawks and Mariners.
Guys, your testosterone level impacts your energy, drive, weight, hair loss, and even ED. Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your T level for free. For your free T level check, exam, and consultation, call 206-529-1111 or visit revivemenshealth.com.
I formed Davis Law Group about 30 years ago, and once I wrote my first book, it proved to be hugely popular. I decided to write then a series of books in different accident cases. I've found that having a client that is educated and knowledgeable about their particular type of case really helps the client and also usually ends up making the case or the claim more successful. To get your free copy of any of my Washington accident books, visit WashingtonAccidentBooks.com.
Cars for Kids. KARS Cards for Kids. 1-877 Cards for Kids. Donate your card today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate your car today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car, running or not, can be picked up as soon as the next day. You'll get a maximum tax deduction and a vacation voucher.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Subscribe to the Seattle Sports YouTube page to find new and exclusive content from your favorite shows and personalities daily. Just head to YouTube, search Seattle Sports, and click subscribe. Seahawks Insider, brought to you by Pacific Lamp and Supply. Now here's Maura Dooley.
Seahawks first-round pick, rookie defensive tackle Byron Murphy has a half sack, 20 tackles, and 1 quarterback hit in 6 games so far this season. NFL Network's Brian Baldinger joined the Brock and Salk show yesterday and talked about what he's seen from Murphy so far.
He's struggling a little bit. He's a little undersized when he goes up. Maybe not at Texas he was, but, he's going up. Like last week, I thought there was a pretty good matchup with him and the rookie Bo Limmer from the Rams when he was matched up on him. And I wouldn't say that Murphy beat him. I mean, I think it was a pretty good duel inside. I think he's spending too much time wrestling, with guys in front of him right now rather than trying to figure out quick escapes. And that's kind of normal for young guys. Generally, these guys need a full redshirt year.
The Seahawks Insider is brought to you by Pacific Lamp and Supply. For the latest on the Seahawks anytime, go to seattlesports.com.
What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud Phone System. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very...
Calm? I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
I don't feel so good.
You do feel hot. Dayquil Kids will take care of that fever.
What about my cough?
Dayquil Kids has that covered.
Will it make my throat feel better?
Yes, that too.
But will it taste good?
Yep, Dayquil Kids comes in your favorite flavor.
Purple?
Well, yes, it's great.
Try new DayQuil Kids Plus Fever, the daytime coughing, aching, sore throat fever just for kids medicine. Safe for kids 6+. Use as directed.
Hey, Bob Stelton here, preparing for another stressful holiday season, and this year I am prioritizing my well-being. That's why I went to my local Johnson Fitness and Wellness store. Their equipment is made for more than just a workout. It's made for better sleep and mental breaks. And their massage chairs, not just for relaxation, they're made for recovery, stress relief, and lowering blood pressure. The experts at Johnson Fitness and Wellness are here to get you through the holidays with flexible financing, white glove delivery, and treadmills, bikes, and ellipticals up to 50% off. Check out johnsonfitness.com or one of the 3 Seattle locations today.
O'Brien Auto Group has some of the best new car brands in the Northwest. Those great new vehicles make the best pre-owned vehicles as well. O'BrienAutoGroup.com for the best factory certified vehicles. O'BrienAutoGroup.com for a large selection of the best pre-owned cars and trucks. O'BrienAutoGroup.com. Choose from hundreds of SUVs, trucks, hybrids, EVs, and more. O'BrienAutoGroup.com. One site is all you need. That's OBRIEN Autogroup.com.
O'Brien. This hour is brought to you by Floor Coverings International.
This is The Timeline
with Bump and Stacy.
Brought to you by 1-800-DUI-AWAY.
It is The Timeline on Bump and Stacy. Curtis Rogers in for Michael Bumpus. Hi.
How's it going?
I know that typically it's hard to root for a team that wins all the time, or, you kind of get fatigue. I don't feel that way about Freddie Freeman on the Dodgers, though. I love every story about Freddie Freeman. I find him to be an incredibly, likable person, and that didn't change when he was on the New Heights podcast with the Kelsey brothers, talking about his Game 1 walk-off home run.
I don't really remember it. I've kind of blacked out,
Dude, I can only imagine.
I
can
talk
only
about it all the
imagine.
time. You're trying to remember the feeling, and I can't. I usually look away to just drive the ball to left center, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to switch this up, and I'm going to look closer to me. So I was looking heater in to up and in, and I guessed right.
Perfect, dude.
He threw it right in the
good,
spot
man.
I was looking. I knew it was gone right when I hit it. And I don't know why I went Statue of Liberty or anything like that. I don't pimp home runs. I don't do that. I just usually hit them and just run around the bases. But walk-off grand slam in the World Series.
That's one you style on, yeah. That is one to style on.
That's the only style I got, is walking and pointing my bat. I got nothing else. Usually we wave at the bullpen. They're going nuts, obviously.
Nobody's even looking at you.
That's why I just went started screaming at them. And then I obviously got the home plate. Miguel Rojas goes, Freddie, stop jumping. I don't want you to get hurt. And I look at him and says, I don't feel a thing. I'm just screaming at him.
I like the idea of Freddie, stop jumping. I can't feel my face.
I can't feel my legs. This is so crazy.
What's happening? That was you and me and Bump are all on a text thread, and you two especially, because Bump is a diehard Dodgers fan and you are a baseball historian. Yeah. You two especially immediately started talking about comparing that to
it was the Kirk Gibson home run.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. And
yeah.
Which one's better? And you knew in the moment. It's really cool knowing in the moment that you've seen something historically great.
Yeah, that goes down as one of the great World Series moments ever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it goes as maybe the best ever, but it's definitely probably top 10, top 15.
Yeah.
That was incredible. Game-winning grand slam walk-off home run. Not just a solo home run to win it, not just a 2-run home run. No, if he doesn't hit that home run, they lose the game, because I think it came with 2 outs as well in that inning. So, I totally can understand why Freddie Freeman doesn't have much memory of the moment, because he was probably just floating around the bases after that.
Curtis, you are the perfect person for me to ask this question, because you have a freakishly unreal ability to recall everything about World Series, including years before you were born. I don't understand, but it just exists. So you mentioned they probably lose that game if he doesn't get there. They do lose that game if he doesn't get that grand slam. It's hugely important. Maybe it ends up shifting the momentum of the series and, leads to the outcome they did.
Mm-hmm.
Are there other World Series that in any way that reminds you of where you go, this one moment shifted this entire series?
There was, I would say, the 96 World Series. The Braves were up 2-0 in Game 3. They had a late lead. And then Jim Leyritz of the Yankees hit a big home run to left field. I think I want to say in the 8th or 9th inning of that game. The Yankees go on to win that game, and then they win the 3 remaining games after that. They beat the Braves in 6 after being down 2-0 and staring down a 3-0 series lead, or series deficit, I should say, in that series. That was a sort of a tide-turning moment in a World Series that I kind of go back to. But, yeah, I mean, if the Yankees take Game 1 of that series, they have stolen home field advantage from the Dodgers. Even if the Dodgers win Game 2, you're looking at a series going back to New York 1-1. And, I mean, we saw how tight those games were. All 5 games were really close, except for, all 4 of the Dodgers wins. Yeah, all 4 of the Dodgers wins were really close. The Yankees blew them out in Game 4.
Yeah.
But, yeah, with how close all the Dodgers wins were, that home run turned out to be the biggest difference-making play in the entire series.
Well, and to your point about how close those Dodgers wins were, even though it was a gentleman's sweep, allowed just that one win to the Yanks, and Joe Kelly afterwards saying, there were better teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, they were the 8th best team we played.
I think that if you run that World Series 10 times, you don't get that outcome.
Right.
Like I think that the Dodgers were at their very best, and the Yankees at times were at their very worst.
Exactly. And the Dodgers did it mostly without contributions from Shohei Ohtani. Because as we found out, he was playing with, a torn labrum?
He had surgery after.
Yeah, he needed surgery after the World Series. So, again, I still replay that home run in my mind. I'm not even a Dodgers fan. I can't imagine, Bump, how he still feels a couple weeks after it happened. Like, you knew when that happened. You knew watching that ball come off the bat. It was like, okay, this is historic. This is something that we should all take a photograph of in our minds and remember this.
Heading to the NBA for our next story in the timeline, the Lakers have assigned Bronny James to their G League affiliate. Not shocking news.
That's understandable.
Completely understandable. An interesting wrinkle, though. An interesting wrinkle to this roster move. The Lakers will call up Bronny for every home game for the rest of the season and won't be sending him on road trips with either the Lakers or the South Bay Lakers. So,
wow.
Yeah, this is the Lakers practice facility is their G League team's home arena. So basically,
he's LA based.
He's LA
based. He's not
based.
Moving.
Nope,
he's not going anywhere.
My question for you. Is this in any way reflective of other experiences of players in G League, or are we looking at
I think this
like
is,
a Nepo baby situation again? No hate to the LeBron James family.
No, I don't pay much attention to the G League. Actually, I don't pay any attention to the G League.
Fair.
I'm not big. I don't know what the South Bay Lakers record is. I can say without having watched a G League game start to finish, this is unprecedented in terms of the quality of player in that league and just the travel restrictions placed on a player, the handling with oven mitts, as it were. This does not happen. This does not happen in basketball. This doesn't happen in baseball with their minor league system. This is crazy. Like, I get that he's an investment, if you want to call it that. I mean, he's still very young. I think I don't even know if he's 20 years old yet. But he is strictly a home player. Like, he is not going to go anywhere. I don't know if that's the best way to learn about the NBA lifestyle, right? Like, there's a ton of travel. You got to be able to learn that aspect of the game in addition to just simply dribbling and shooting and passing.
Well, and just from a personal point of view, you are already fighting against the notion that you are here unfairly. Exactly. Which, like, you can make the case, however, a late round 2 pick in the NBA is someone else they would have taken significantly better. No, it's just a dude. But there's still going to be a wall there that you've got to overcome to really build connections with teammates and put yourself on this really, relatable level, not traveling with them. And again, at the professional level, and this includes semi-professional level or G leagues or minor leagues and MLB, everyone understands that there are different rules for different people. Like, that's not new. But man, there's like personal relationships you develop from traveling with teammates.
Exactly. That's where I can't speak to, traveling professionally, but when I played on school teams, some of the greatest memories I have are just those bus trips to opposing schools and whatnot, and coming home and reveling in a victory and all that. This is, there's no precedent for this. And like you said, if you're one of his G League teammates, you're kind of like, well, I'm better than you, and why am I not getting this kind of treatment? But if I was Bronny, I would want to be doing everything I could to just have the most normal NBA experience as possible. Like, I get that it's not going to be normal so long as his dad is on the Lakers roster, but like, I would push back on this if I were him. I'd be like, I want to be one of the guys. Like, I don't want to be treated this much differently than everybody else.
Time for the IRG injury report, brought to you by IRG Physical and Hand Therapy. On Monday, Mike McDonald gave a pretty non-committal answer about DK Metcalf's availability after the bye week.
You know, I don't want to. I got to be careful how I phrase this one, Bob. It's like, yeah, we're confident. I know it's a little bit more. It's frustrating. It's got to be frustrating for DK. I mean, this guy's been healthy his whole career, and then he has something that it just requires more time than, even for an elite human that he is. It just is what it is. So right now we're working through it, and he's doing everything he can to get back as soon as possible. But having the extra week will definitely help.
What's that mean for the offense moving forward? We'll talk about it next.
Blue 88 on Brock and Salk.
All right, I always like trying to figure out your answers to these questions, Brock. Upon further review, what Seahawk individual played one of the best games of his career?
Every day at 7:45.
Kobe Bryant, that hit at the end of the game was awesome. He went full speed to separate receiver from ball and did an amazing job at it. I don't know if he can ever be elite, but you kind of just feel his presence.
Blue 88, answering 3 football questions as only Brock Heward can.
Welcome to IRG's Sports Injury Update. We're with Shannon O'Kelly, physical therapist and president of IRG Physical and Hand Therapy, and our guest, Dr. Michael Dugella, podiatrist and fellowship-trained foot and ankle surgeon at Washington Orthopedic Center in Centralia and Olympia.
Dr. Dugella, thank you for joining us on the IRG Sports Injury Update. You're a foot and ankle specialist. Tell us about ankle sprains, particularly in athletes.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of injuries right now, even in the Seahawks. Nehemiah Pritchett out with a bad ankle sprain. Typically on these uneven surfaces where we can get our foot caught or tumbled up within a dog pile, these rotational injuries can happen, tearing the ligaments. We have various grades of injuries that can affect people, which determines their return to play.
Talk about grading and return to play, i.e. a grade 1 versus a grade 3, let's say.
So grade 1 injuries are typically fairly mild strains and sprains. As we get up into the higher grade, these are where we end up with either partial or complete tears. Grade 3 would be a complete tear. That obviously makes it harder to get back. So early injuries, minor injuries, a couple of weeks out. As we get into complete tears, maybe closer to 3 to 4 weeks minimum.
So 3 to 4 weeks, if you've got a significant tear, that grade 2 or potentially 3, how do you diagnose these? What's the easiest way for you to diagnose these?
Clinical exam. The difficulty is sometimes they're very tender on initial examination. So sometimes you have to bring them back in several days as the dust settles a little bit. Sometimes MRIs are needed.
And generally speaking, based on the injury, a lot of it's biology. It's just time, healing, return to play. A lot of times you're going to assess cutting, stopping, starting, what the athlete can do on the field. But we're talking about generally around 4 to 6 weeks. Is that right?
That's exactly right.
All right, Dr. Dugella, thank you for your time. Thank you for information. And thank you for joining us in the IRG Sports Injury Update. If you'd like more information on foot and ankle injuries, you can contact Dr. Dugella at waortho.com. That's waortho.com.
With over 40 neighborhood clinics around Washington, IRG has you covered. Let IRG be your family's physical therapist. Find the location nearest you at irgpt.com. That's irgpt.com.
We get it about battery trouble being a bother. Nobody likes a dead battery in a dark parking lot in the rain. But if you have 15 minutes, then why don't you stop into Pacific Power Batteries for a free battery load test? Beats the heck out of being stranded. So if you have a minute this week, how about stopping in to one of our 7 stores for a quick test? It's free, we aren't predators, and chances are good that you'll leave us with one more thing checked off your to-do list. Pacific Power Batteries, family owned and operated since 1985.
Have you ever tried something for the first time and then wondered how you ever got along without it? That's how thousands of new Navage users describe their first experience. Once they feel sinus relief and can breathe clearly again, many wonder why it took them so long to experience the Navage difference. Navage uses refreshing saline and gentle suction to quickly suck out mucus, germs, and other airborne irritants. Stop suffering from congestion and start feeling better again with Navage. Brand new look, same great product.
Hi, this is Tammy Michaels. 4 years ago, I was badly injured after being rear-ended in a car accident. Trust me, if you're injured, you need the best law firm to handle your case so you can focus on recovering. Davis Law Group is the best. They will handle everything. For more about my journey, go to dlgstories.com/Tammy. That's dlgstories.com/Tammy.
Heading outdoors or on the water this weekend? Check in with Joey and Nelly on the Outdoor Line from 6 to 8 a.m. every Saturday on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the propane tank on your grill first before hosting a tailgate.
Let's fire up. Here, let me try. Seriously? You didn't check the propane? Who wants chips?
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds.
Salt and vinegar?
You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy two. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
At Shane Company, we want you to be the holiday hero. We have so many ways to create unique, fine jewelry gifts. Give a ring or necklace with their favorite gemstone like amethyst or peachy morganite, one to match their eyes, or even pick out their favorite team colors. Customize our North Star charm with the gemstone of your choice for a reminder to follow their own path. Or create a personalized piece with zodiac, birthstone, and diamond letter charms. Visit us in store and shop online at shaneco.com. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
An airliner heads for Alaska with 101 passengers and crew. Then, somewhere over the Gulf of Alaska, Flight 293 slams into the icy waters below.
Even if all 4 engines quit, it just doesn't fall out of the sky.
No bodies were recovered. Loved ones had no closure and were left to wonder.
What happened to Flight 293?
Unsolved Histories, What Happened to Flight 293 is available now, wherever you get your podcasts.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio,
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
I'm just going to jump back to that sound from Mike McDonald again. This is from Monday. It's not new news, but from Monday, Mike was asked, hey, is DK going to be ready coming back here after the bye?
You know, I don't want to, I got to be careful how I phrase it.
I already don't like that answer, Curtis. I don't need to hear anything else. I do not need to hear anything else.
Nobody starts out good news with those words.
Let me tell you what. If I turn to my sister and I say, that's so funny, my shoes are missing, and I haven't seen them, did you take them?
You know, I don't want to, I don't.
Yes, you did. That is the voice of someone. Now, granted, Mike McDonald is very tight-lipped on injuries in general, so it could be that he's like, I don't want to speak for DK. I don't have an answer right now. We've got 10 days to figure this out. Completely fair. But it also doesn't feel especially encouraging, especially since, Curtis, the best possible thing for this team that did not acquire offensive talent at the trade deadline is to get 2 starters, Abe Lucas and DK Metcalf, back.
Yeah, and the bye week was circled in Sharpie for both of those guys. Abe Lucas had his practice window activated 2 weeks ago. So if he does not come back on Sunday, he reverts back and he's not active to come and play.
It's like being an animorph. You get stuck in the body after a certain amount of time.
Yeah, I was just going to go with that reference.
Am I wrong or am I wrong?
I am in shock right now.
That might be the most intelligent reference made on this station by a host in years.
If you don't get activated to the 53-man, you stay stuck in the Animorph PUP body.
She's also made it so I actually understand NFL injury procedure. This is the best it's ever been explained to me. I finally understand.
Okay, so that you know, Abe Lucas is basically inching in on the final 15 minutes of Animorph form. He's got to figure this out.
Yeah, totally. I just know Animorphs from the cover of their books at the Scholastic Book Fair. Never dabbled in the Animorph community. It was not my
dark series.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looked a little weird seeing, especially like midway when it was like half human, half dog.
Yeah.
That's kind of bizarre.
Get back to the importance of having those two here, though, Curtis, because while they've been able to stay afloat, I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba, career game. Overshadowed by Jamar Chase a couple days later, but a career game against the Rams. It wasn't enough for a win, but they did push that game into overtime. So you can stay afloat without Abe, without DK, but it is difficult. And, you know, someone earlier asked a question. I was talking about offensive penalties, and they said, I think the Seahawks also led the league in penalties in their Super Bowl season. The Ravens are actually second in penalties. So there are really good teams that commit penalties. Bad teams don't have a lot of wiggle room. And that is the Seahawks right now. You give yourself more wiggle room by getting those starters back.
Absolutely. And sure, DK does contribute to those penalties at times. But when he is making positive plays, there is no person on the Seahawks offense outside of Geno Smith that has a bigger impact on the final outcome of a game, at least offensively, than DK Metcalf. He has that big of an impact on what the Seahawks do offensively. Like, yes, JSN showed that he can be a threat in the receiving game in a big way, like he did on Sunday, where he should have had over 200 yards receiving if all those plays didn't get called back. But DK Metcalf adds a wrinkle to your offense that no receiver on this team currently as constructed can do. He can take the top off of any defense, any cornerback in the league, can just simply outrun them, can bully them. His catch radius is insane. This is a guy that adds so much to this offense, and you want him out there as much as possible. If the Seahawks make the playoffs this season, it's going to be because a big reason why is going to be because DK Metcalf was healthy in the season's second half.
Well, and if you're not going to lean into the run or be able to expand that, for goodness sakes, just go 11 personnel. Get DK back out there and just create as many pass catchers and weapons as you can. And I know that still leaves you with a very one-dimensional offense, and that's so frustrating for wide receivers. But if you're going to be one-dimensional, you know, get as much as you can from your pass game.
Exactly. Just wring that towel out as hard as you can.
Squeeze the sponge.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of love on the text line, by the way, for that Animorphs
I can't believe you never read Animorphs.
I had kind of a sheltered childhood.
Oh, okay. Well, what did you read?
Read a lot of those Matt Christopher sports books growing up, where it's like the kid with the glass arm.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
I'm drawing a blank.
I'm so boring.
That is so Curtis coded.
It is.
No wonder when I said, tell me about this World Series, Curtis mentioned a World Series during which time he was
I read a lot of sports books as a
5
kid.
years old.
I was reading the sports page as like a 6-year-old.
What a weirdo.
Loser.
I know.
Print media, man. Bring it back.
Obviously, so we talked about DK. Obviously huge to get Abe back as well. I tried to limit criticism that I've had of Stone Forsythe and Michael Jarrell because one is not intended to be a starter and the other is a rookie who is figuring things out from a small school. That being said, it's still a liability, and this team would love to get Abe back out there. And this offensive line has been the singular problem and an issue for this team, frankly, for a decade. I do think, though, that even just improving at one position takes a step forward that people will be surprised by, if you can get that done. I'm not saying they're going to be good, but for goodness sakes, helping out at one position. Imagine if they would have traded for a really good guard. You'd be like, breathing a little easier.
Right. It would have been such a relief to this fan base. It would have been a relief to everybody in that locker room if they had gone out and improved the offensive line. And I wonder just what our expectations should be if Abe Lucas makes it back, because this is a guy who hasn't played in over a year. He has dealt with some really tough injuries over the last 2 seasons. I'm not going to expect him to be what he was in his rookie season. I don't think that's fair to him. But if he can be a fraction of that, he automatically becomes your best right tackle. He automatically becomes probably your second best offensive lineman behind Charles Cross. So I'm hopeful, but I'm not expecting Abe Lucas what his trajectory would have been had he stayed healthy through the last 2 seasons. I think we're starting at kind of almost where he left off after his rookie season.
All right, well, what's the Seahawks recipe going to be if they do want to win the division, which they do, obviously, and where do they need to build moving forward? Pro Football Focus's Trevor Sikkema joins us next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Brock and Salk.
Daniel Jeremiah show every Wednesday with us here at 8:30. How many guys legitimately could come in here and play the position a whole lot differently than Geno has through 9 games?
I think you could find 10 quarterbacks that would be marginally better. I don't think anybody's going to thrive under that type of pressure. Watching this tape this last week, there were 4 or 5 plays where I wrote the word greedy. Some of that stuff is on him. If he's passing up completions and trying to be a little too greedy to get vertical down the field.
Streaming live on the Seattle Sports app.
Did you know that most people wait 6 or 7 years before they buy a new TV? That's a lot of time in front of one TV. So why not get one of the best sets for the next 7 years, like one of the top-rated Samsung, LG, or Sony models? Too expensive? What if you could get up to $1,000 trade-in for your old set? Who would do a stupid deal like this? Right now, at Video Only, you can get big bucks for your old set as a trade-in and a hot price on the new models. Don't be sorry. Check out Video Only.
Are you constantly dealing with a runny nose, nasal congestion, or stuffiness? Always having to clear your throat or coughing? I'm Dr. Ryan Stern with the Stern Sinus Center. Rhine Air is a simple, non-invasive procedure that can significantly reduce your symptoms. This long-lasting treatment is available here in my office. In a clinical study, 88% of Rhine Air patients experience a significant reduction in their symptoms. We're proud the Stern Sinus Center was recently named a nationwide center of excellence. Schedule your appointment in Auburn or Federal Way or go to sternsinus.com.
Cougs versus everybody.
Let's go. Lots of communication. Here we go. Set your mind right with the right intentions. Let's go get it.
Washington State returns home this Saturday as they welcome Utah State to Giza Field. Kickoff is set for 7:30.
You go into any little local restaurant, bar, whatever it is, you're going to see a Coug logo, and it means something to everybody here.
It's all on your home for Cougar football.
Catch the game this Saturday on AM 770 KTTH and on the Seattle Sports app.
I'm Bradley Johnson with 1-800-DUI-AWAY. Let's talk about the bar. Not where you get drinks. I'm talking about the bar exam. That rigorous beast that's required to practice law. You've got to pass it, but not anymore. Soon students can pass on the bar exam instead of passing it. Can you imagine unlicensed electricians burning down the house? Plumbers? Yuck. Dentists? Ouch. Fortunately, all our lawyers have passed the bar exam with flying colors. And with that comes over 300 5-star reviews, over 30 years in business, and a 90% success rate getting cases reduced or dismissed. So call 1-800-DUI-AWAY or go to 1-800-DUI-AWAY.com. The world is changing fast. Rely on the best in the business. Bar none.
1-800-DUI-AWAY. Guys, your testosterone level impacts your energy, drive, weight, hair loss, and even ED. Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your T level for free. For your free T level check, exam, and consultation, call 206-529-1111 or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Have you tried the dining district at the Bellevue Collection? Grab lunch with friends, meet up for happy hour, and stay for dinner and beyond. You can sample international flavors and local favorites from talented chefs. Try a new cocktail on a rooftop bar or watch the game with friends. And explore the lively nightlife scene. The Dining District at the Bellevue Collection, where your taste adventure begins. Learn more at BellevueCollection.com/dining district.
Hey Seattle, Jaden Schwartz for Techline Roofing. Call Techline Roofing and trust the team I trust. With the strongest warranty in the business, Techline Roofing has you covered. That's TEKLINE roofing.com. Trust Techline.
Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. Donate your car today.
Donate your car today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car, running or not, can be picked up as soon as the next day. You'll get a maximum tax deduction and a vacation voucher.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Big Trees is Washington's premier tree sales and transplant company. With over 30 years of experience, Big Trees provides trees of all sizes for residential and commercial projects. Our 30-acre nursery features thousands of trees and hundreds of varieties that thrive in our Pacific Northwest climate. For hours, directions, and to see our wide selection of trees, visit BigTreeSupply.com.
Privacy, instantly. Big Trees.
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
Trevor Lawrence is unlikely to start Sunday against the Vikings per Jags head coach Doug Peterson. If he's out, that means Mac Jones, former Patriots first-round pick, will get the start. C.J. Beathard as the backup there. The Seahawks are on a bye in Week 10, but the rest of the NFC West isn't, so here's what to keep an eye on. The San Francisco 49ers are heading to Tampa Bay. That'll be a 10 a.m. kickoff on Fox. The Cardinals are hosting the 3-6 Jets at 1:25, and then on Monday night, the Rams host the Dolphins.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time. From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bump and Stacy
on Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
Here we go now.
Joining us now in the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. The Seahawks aren't playing in Week 10, but let's still preview these games with Pro Football Focus's Trevor Sikkema. Trevor, how's it going?
It's going great. I appreciate you guys having me on the show.
We are happy to have you on. Now, we do have some Seahawks questions, Trevor, but I'm going to start with taking a look at the games that are actually being played this weekend, starting with last night's. It was absolutely phenomenal. I could not believe, Trevor, some of the stats that were coming out, though, about just how good Joe Burrow has been in 2 losses to the Ravens this year. Tell me about this matchup and what you've seen from these quarterbacks.
No, it was an incredible game, and honestly, it's hard to not watch that game and think these are the 2 front runners for MVP, right? I think that Jaden Daniels might have something to say about that if we get to the end of the season, but they're playing the best ball of anyone in the NFL, and our numbers at PFF reflect that. These are the number 1 and number 2 rated passers that we have in the NFL, and they were putting on an incredible display. I mean, Joe Burrow, he just could not have more ice in his veins. I mean, every single time that they needed a big throw, I mean, think about the one monster throw to Jamar Chase to tie the game up right before their final drive, and then the final drive alone, really, to get them in a position to go for 2 and potentially win it right there. But then you flip over to the Lamar Jackson side of things. It's hard to not watch this Ravens offense and think they're going to score on every single drive. Every single time that the Ravens punt the football, I never really look at the defense, and I don't know, maybe this is me just not giving defenses enough credit, but I never really look at the defense. I go, wow, the Ravens really just didn't execute right there, because it feels like when they are playing their best, there's not really a defense that can stop them with the way that Lamar is playing right now. And I feel like that was on display last night, just an unbelievable back and forth between 2 of the best quarterbacks in the league.
What do you think is the ceiling of that Ravens team, despite the amount of points that their defense has been giving up this season? You mentioned it. Their offense is the best in the NFL. They've got weapons everywhere, and Lamar Jackson looks like he's the front runner for MVP. Are they, in your mind, a team that can knock off Kansas City in the AFC?
Oh, 100%. And in fact, if I was putting money on the line on any team in the NFL right now to win the Super Bowl, I'd bet on the Baltimore Ravens. I know that might be sacrilegious given the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs still have not lost a game, but you go back to that very first game of the season, and they were, a toe away from potentially beating the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City right there. So these 2 teams, we already know that they're very evenly matched, and now we have seen over more than half the season Lamar just be unbelievably consistent at an elite level. And so anytime that that's the case, you got to feel good about betting on a quarterback like that. And obviously with some of the trades, and what I really like the most is, how they've shuffled around their offensive line, even through the first 3 weeks of the season. You're moving Patrick McCarry from the right tackle spot. You're moving him inside. It just feels like it is really flowing for them. So as long as the defense gives them a decent floor, this is an offense that will put up 30 on any single defense that they play. Not that that's going to happen every week, but they've got the ability to do it. So honestly, for the way that Lamar is playing right now, and given what their record is already, they are my Super Bowl front runners right now. They are.
I don't know how many Seahawks fans see Seattle as a Super Bowl team. This roster just has a lot of holes. It's a brand new head coach. It's not really what this season was about. But because the NFC West is so messy, you still find yourself going, well, what if the Niners lose? So let's jump to these NFC West games. The Niners are heading to Tampa Bay, 10 a.m. kickoff here. Cardinals hosting the Jets. Rams host the Dolphins. Do you see a sweep for the NFC West? How are you feeling about where these other three teams are right now?
No, it's a super competitive division, and it always is every single year. I look at this 49ers-Buccaneers game, and that's very intriguing to me because I think on paper, with the Buccaneers not having Chris Godwin, not having Mike Evans, struggling a little bit on offense, but more importantly, really since week 5, that Thursday night football game against the Falcons, they've been struggling on defense, and they've been getting guys back and healthy. And so it's really been a mystery just why they are struggling so much there. Not that they're perfectly healthy, they're not, but man, it just has not looked like a regular Todd Bowles defense. And I think that's what makes this upcoming matchup really intriguing, because on the surface level, you'd think it'd probably be an easy 49ers win here. But when you look at when Brock Purdy has struggled the most this season, it was what? It was that Vikings game when he went up against a Brian Flores defense that was very aggressive to blitz him in a lot of different ways. And it had Purdy very confused, 3 turnover-worthy plays. 2 of them came while he was pressured, and there was that clip after the game where, he goes up to Brian Flores and he's laughing. He's like, the scheme is crazy, man. I couldn't figure it out all game. I'm paraphrasing that last sentence, but that's basically what it looked like out there. Now, when you look at why that's interesting for this matchup against Tampa Bay, the 2 teams that blitz the most in the NFL by far, the Minnesota Vikings with Brian Flores and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Todd Bowles.
I'm liking this, Trevor.
I was going to say, now an interesting trend with the Buccaneers is that they have blitzed less over the last 3 weeks than what they have now. But I think that they know that about Purdy.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious to know if Todd Bowles is going to get back to his nature and really make him uncomfortable back there like the Vikings tried to.
Oh, what a preview.
Yeah.
You should do this for a living.
Yeah. Has anybody told you should get paid to do
anyone tell you
this?
should do football analysis?
Trevor,
I have heard that a couple of times. I have heard that, yes.
Yeah, well, we'll see if we can get you on salary or something like that. Trevor, we had you on before the season started. I think you wrote a column talking about each team's best move, and we asked you what was the team you had the hardest time finding a best move for, and you said the Dallas Cowboys. How awesome does it feel to be vindicated
Once again,
with that take?
pretty good.
9 weeks into the season.
I mean, it was just hard not to like, make it painfully obvious or really just, kick Cowboys fans when they're down. But it was painfully obvious that something like this was possible. How do you go into the season not making any sort of move to mitigate your weaknesses? I mean, you overachieved last year, and the most dangerous teams in the NFL to themselves are the ones that cannot look in the mirror. And when you listen to Jerry Jones and sort of how he has talked over the last 3 or 4 weeks, he seems like an owner that, one, is, of course, fed up with not getting close to a Super Bowl. And obviously he's owned the team for a long time and he's getting up there in age and he wants to see his team win a Super Bowl. But to be buyers at the deadline, what are you thinking? The season is over. You have 0 run defense. You have 0 run game. Dak's hamstring might be torn off the bone. You can't throw it to anybody other than CeeDee Lamb anyways. And the defense just even beyond what they are really on the front, even without Micah Parsons, even if you're getting Micah Parsons back, where's the hope for this team? You are so far behind the 8 ball at this point. You aren't with the Eagles. You aren't with the Commanders. You're with the Giants at the bottom of this division. There's no way you should have been buyers at the deadline, including, which I should say, especially overpaying for a player who hasn't even broken out yet. It is the most obvious example of a team drinking their own Kool-Aid, right? Just being like, no, we're the Cowboys. We compete. This is what we do. Not with this roster, you don't. And the results were very clearly right in front of you, and yet they will not accept the fact that for even a little short period of time, the Cowboys wouldn't be winning relevant. And I think because of that, it's going to be hard to build this roster the way they need to win a Super Bowl like Jerry Jones actually wants.
It really is just fascinating because you've seen how Jerry reacts in real time on air to anyone who questions him. I can't imagine what it's like in that building.
I mean, that was, you've seen the frustration has mounted so much over the last couple of weeks. And I agree with you. You know, you've got reporters and journalists who are kind of, they're doing a good job analyzing this team with exactly where they are. And it feels like Jerry is the one who's struggling to do that the most as the decision maker and the guy who's calling the shots. So, for the Cowboys, I almost, I can't give myself too much credit because I almost put the Commanders at number 2 to finish number 2 in this division ahead of the Dallas Cowboys. But I couldn't bring myself to do it, so I was a little bit of a coward there. And even with my thinking that I was going to watch the Cowboys struggle this season, I didn't think it would be this bad. And boy, has it been this bad.
Trevor, Geno Smith has put up a ton of yardage through the passing game, but has also had some interceptions this season. We've described him in the past as like a Rorschach test where you can look at his numbers any which way and describe them all sorts of different ways, and you're probably right, no matter how you describe his play. How would you describe his 2024 season to this point?
Honestly, he gives you a chance to win every single week. Like, I know that some fans who might be on the other side of the coin will tell you, well, he's sometimes the reason why they lose, and I understand that. And football is a game where the quarterback – every move that they make is of paramount importance because it can swing the result one way or the other. But what Geno Smith does, especially as one of the top 3 big-time throwers in the NFL this year and last year, and honestly, any time that he's been on over the last 3 years for the Seahawks, he has been unbelievable at this. 15-yard throws deep down the field, whether it's single coverage or not, this guy is fearless layering the ball. And I think that you saw that on display last week in that thriller against the Rams. Yes, they lose that game, and I think some people might look at maybe a couple of throws that he wishes he had back as perhaps reasons why, but they're only in that spot at the end because of what he is capable of. And I think that when you have a quarterback that gives you this kind of ability, and I want to make it very clear, we're not having a Jameis Winston conversation here. I covered Jameis Winston when he was at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I was a beat reporter there. And Jameis was so even with big-time throws and turnover-worthy plays. And, of course, you have the 30 for 30 year with the interceptions and the touchdowns. That's a ratio that you cannot live with. You can live with the ratio that Geno Smith is giving you. The rest of the team and the chemistry within the offense and the play calls and the balance between run and pass, like that is not there yet. And the defense, I think, has been a little bit more of a roller coaster than people thought it would be, especially last week. We're watching these guys like Reek Woolen having a bad game and the coverage just having a bad game. It's not that they're bad players. It's just that defense is going to naturally be a little bit more up and down. So when you take all that into account and I look at what Geno Smith can do for you and the fact that, yes, it's a little bit of a gunslinger's ride you got to be prepared to get on, but this guy can win football games at the highest level for you. And I'm not quick to dismiss a player like that, even if there's a handful of throws that he'd rather have back. In fact, look, Matthew Stafford wins that game, right? Unbelievable last drive, unbelievable last throw. Matthew Stafford had more turnover-worthy plays in that game than Geno Smith did. I went back and I watched the film myself. But nobody remembers that. People just remember who wins. Right. But you've got to be able to find that context within the wins and losses, and that's the truth. So I know people like to blame the quarterback when things don't go well, especially when there's a couple of throws that they'd rather have back. But Geno is one of those quarterbacks in the NFL that I'd ride for every week. He gives you a chance to win football games in this league.
Working against Geno and quite frankly, very briefly working against Matthew in his final years in Detroit was this idea of like, look, is the ship gone? Is this quarterback just too old? I think that there's this idea people have, and I don't blame them at all. I mean, this is how Seattle won, that you'll need a young, great, and cheap quarterback in order to get as many shots at a championship as you possibly can. And we do have, as you know, infinite examples of young franchise faces that are winning. Do you think that there are examples we can point to where you go, this is a team that built in a different way and like they won this way? I mean, is there, I guess, history working against Geno? Can the Seahawks win a Super Bowl with him?
Yeah, no, I think that, can the Seahawks win a Super Bowl with Geno Smith? I think he is the caliber of a quarterback that gives you the ability to make a deep playoff run. Yes, when you get to that Super Bowl, things have to go well for you as well, right? You have to be healthy. The ball has to bounce your way a little bit. You're going up against some of the best in the world. And so there is I think when people bring up luck, they think that luck is like insulting, like it's taking away from what they actually accomplish. And that's not true. Some of the best and the biggest Super Bowl winners that we have seen, they have a little bit of luck. And sometimes that could just be injury. Well, on that front alone, you look at the Seahawks offensive line. Look at the injuries that they've been through this year. Not getting Abe Lucas back and then Fant going down and then obviously Stone Forsythe struggling at his spot. I mean, that's something they have had to deal with. And they have sort of had to move around their offensive philosophy. I mean, you got a game where you're only giving 7 carries to the running backs, and it's like, okay, it cannot be all of that. Yeah. But I think the amount of work that you see Grubb put on Geno Smith's plate tells you right there that they believe that this is a guy who can take them where they want to go on his shoulders. And so, no, I don't think that you have to have a young rookie franchise quarterback on a rookie deal, I should have said, to win a Super Bowl. It helps, certainly with the team building things, but you don't have to have that, especially with a player like Geno Smith, who is getting paid a decent amount, but it's not like he's getting paid, record-breaking amounts of money. You can build a team with him. They just have to get a little bit more lucky, especially when it comes to the injury side of things and the team building side of things, certainly the rest of this year. And then, if you got one last ride with all of it next year too.
Trevor, last one from me. You are an incredible draft analyst as well. Prior to this college season, the quarterback class was not one that a lot of people were super high on. Have you seen anybody emerge in this college season that you're like, watch out for this guy on draft boards?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I think that when people look at this draft class, is it the one that we saw last year? Is it going to rival a 2001 or a 2021, in terms of hype? No, maybe not. But I always think that hype for quarterback classes it's an interesting conversation because sometimes hype makes you feel good, right? It makes you feel like the draft is safer than it really is. Think about that 2021 draft class. It was Trevor Lawrence. It was Zach Wilson. It was Justin Fields. It was Mac Jones. It was Trey Lance. There were people that told you can't go wrong with any of them. Pick any of these quarterbacks. And guess what? Only one of them has sort of worked out, and that's Lawrence. And even Lawrence has his doubters now at this point. And that was a surefire class. Look at the class from last year. Caleb Williams, all right? Surefire, 100%, no doubt about it, number 1 overall pick. I mean, he hasn't lit the world on fire. So I think that hype for draft classes is sometimes taken the wrong way, as if it's safer. And that's just not the case. And in fact, you can sometimes get quarterbacks who maybe they're not the number 1 overall guy. Maybe they're still a first-round guy. Maybe they're a second-round guy. Maybe there's somebody that comes out of nowhere that can win football games for you. And I do think that whether it's Garrett Nussmeier from LSU or Jalen Milroe, who's played better at Alabama this year, those guys, these are players who I think they at least intrigue you. And to me, sometimes that's really all that matters. Of course, you would love to have every box in the scouting report checked. But even when that's the case, it is sort of a guess. You never know how these guys are going to play once they get into the NFL level and things like that. It's the ones that intrigue you that are worth looking into and drafting and giving a chance. And because of that, guys like I said, Garrett Nussmeier, Jalen Milroe, Cam Ward now from Miami, Shadur Sanders from Colorado, they're intriguing enough to where you're still going to see teams take chances on him, just maybe not in the top 5 in such a crammed manner like we have seen in the past.
Find his work on Pro Football Focus. It's Trevor Sikkema. And Trevor, you can obviously not see our text line, but listeners are absolutely loving your analysis. You've been such a fun listen for them. We have to get you back on. Tell me we can book you at the end of the season or maybe ahead of the draft and take a look at where the Seahawks go from here.
Yeah, absolutely. Would love to hop on with you guys again. Always enjoy it.
All right. Thanks, Trevor. Have a good one. It's a Football Friday powered by the Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Let's get to headline rewrites.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
Headline rewrites.
We must make headlines.
The real story behind the headlines in today's news with Bump and Stacy.
I got to have Trevor come on just to talk about the Cowboys. He was getting fired up.
He was. There was a point in that interview where I could tell that we had struck a chord with him to where he just really ramped it up to 11.
Yeah, and
it was
another
great.
thing.
It was great. Trevor's awesome. He's super great to have on. Headline 1, Stacey, Christian McCaffrey will make his 2024 season debut for the Niners on Sunday against the Bucs. What's the real headline?
I've always believed you should ease a player back in. So 1 week on, 1 week off.
I'm full agreement.
You know what I mean? I love an idea, a world where Christian McCaffrey comes back for week 10 and then just rest. And then just take week 11 off.
You don't need to play back-to-back weeks.
I don't think you do either. And and it's kind of like, you need a rest day when you work out. You just got to work in those rest Sundays in my mind.
Exactly.
And
need
one of
recovery.
those. Yeah, you don't need week 11. We asked Trevor about this game and what we could see here, and he has a really great preview. If you missed it, it'll kick off hour 3 of the Bump and Stacy podcast. But I'm very intrigued to see Christian McCaffrey and very intrigued to see what a healthy 49ers team is looking like. I don't know why I still have questions about them. I shouldn't. I really shouldn't. But I think it's just like weird lapses in their game. Like they are second in yards per game offensively, which is phenomenal. But they're 28th in red zone scoring. So they've got these weird lapses where they've, as Trevor said, struggled against bad teams sometimes or struggled in the 20s without Christian. So we'll see what it looks like against Tampa Bay.
Headline rewrites.
Headline 2, Thursday Night Football, ending with a controversial no call again of a face mask penalty. Second time this has happened last month. What's the real headline?
If 140-year-old Al Michaels can see this face mask, then a ref should too. Curtis, I could not believe this. How does the league fix it?
I think you've got to make face masking a reviewable play. I think where you meet in the middle on this, though, is make it reviewable under 2 minutes because then I bet you could call face masking on 90% of plays in the NFL just based off the contact made in the trenches and whatnot. But if it is so egregious again that this has impacted the outcome of a game, like you've got to do something about this if you're the NFL. And we heard Sam Monson earlier be like, why don't maybe just have a sky judge? But then you're basically telling your referees, hey, we don't think you're doing a good enough job, so we're gonna add this layer of help for you. And the referees are probably like, well, why do you need to do that? Like I'm the best of the best in terms of football refereeing. That's the thing too. I'm not about to give credit to NFL referees for anything, but there is no better group of football referees on the planet than NFL ones.
Yeah.
So you're not going to find any better referees than what you've got currently. You just got to help them out more.
Can I say something that Bengals fans aren't going to like, though? I do think Sam Darnold, the face mask on him that wasn't called, was more egregious.
Oh, yeah. You could see his head jerk back.
His head was almost torn off his body. I mean, Byron Young joked about afterwards being like, oh.
You could see Byron Young grab his helmet after and just be like, no.
So, and the Bengals maybe shouldn't have allowed 250 yards of offense for the Ravens in the fourth quarter. That being said, it was a phenomenal game from Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and the Bengals offense, and they deserved every shot to be in and win that game. And that would have given them an extra set of downs. It's a bummer they didn't get it.
Headline rewrites.
Headline 3, the Huskies travel to number 6 Penn State for their annual whiteout game tomorrow. What's the real headline?
Honestly, after this season, I just like to black out. Can I say something? I had a fellow Husky, thank you for listening, text in and say, God, like, I don't really love the Husky hate. And I don't think that this is hating on the Huskies, but I think we can be honest about
it's been a tough season.
The disappointment that you have. You'll always root for your team, and this person pointed out fairly that at number 6, Penn State is not infallible. Like they are a flawed team, and maybe slightly overhyped. That being said, going from what this team was last season, and you knew that it wouldn't last. You not only because those players were all draft eligible and leaving. But you just thought, well, what's it going to look like in the Big Ten? But it hurts more than I thought it would.
Yeah.
I was not emotionally prepared for the fall off in kind of the team that you're watching.
Because when a team has such a great season like the Huskies had last year, we all want to see them try to defend the conference championship, defend the Sugar Bowl championship, and whatnot. And this team didn't even get a chance to celebrate their accomplishments the week following their loss in the title game. Like, everybody was gone to the pros. Kalen DeBoer left for Alabama. Everybody hit the portal.
Yeah.
There was very few guys left less than a week after.
No, it was like the hangover hit that night.
Exactly. It was like, what? Like, we don't even get to see this team run it back. And I think that has been a really tough thing to watch, especially for Husky fans. Just kind of grieving what could have been this season. Not to say that they would have gone back to the national championship game, but
You don't have as many players under the portal, though. I mean,
right, and you're probably a top 25 team, maybe a team with an outside shot at getting one of the top 12 seeds.
Yeah.
But this season, definitely a transitional year. I mean, the Huskies did get the good news yesterday that Florida is bringing Billy Napier back, so you don't have to worry about Jed Fish leaving for Florida anytime soon. Allows for him to bring in a full recruiting class of his own guys next year.
Very good point.
So it's not to say that everything's all bad in the Husky program or anything. It's just that this season could have been a lot more if college football just wasn't structured the way it's structured now.
Back to the NFL. I think Nick Sirianni, head coach of the Eagles, might have done something he wasn't supposed to do. That's coming up next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
He is Mark Schlereth.
And I said this a couple years ago to the Arizona Cardinals GM. And I said, you guys are so talented that you continue to fool yourself into believing you're a good football team. And you know what? You'll score touchdowns at the end of a half, at the end of a game, to make it a one-score game, and everybody will say, wow, they're so close. And the truth of the matter is you're not close, because you don't dominate the line of scrimmage.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
To all you tool people out there, has Harbor Freight got a deal for you? Big savings every single day this November. Because we know that right now, when the price of everything only seems to go up, you need a place where prices stay low. So shop in-store or online for quality tools you can trust at prices you'll love every day. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Febreze. So my home is also my office. And before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up and spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Food banks are in need of our help. Would you please drop off non-perishable food items at any of the 6 Harnish Auto Family dealerships, including Subaru, Chevy, Buick, GMC, and Volkswagen of Puyallup, or Kia and Chevrolet of Everett? It's the Harnish Auto Family, where people matter.
Want to listen to Seattle Sports on your smart speaker?
Hey, smart speaker, play Seattle Sports.
This message is powered by the EQC Sportsbook at Emerald Queen Casino. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
Transform your home from top to bottom with State Roofing. Hi, it's Sam Thomason, owner of State Roofing. It's not just about a new roof, it's about a new look for your entire home. Deck out your backyard or give your exterior a facelift with our siding and window options. And there's no better time to start than now with our incredible offer. 0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for 12 months. Why wait to make your dream home a reality? We do more than just roofs. Visit stateroofing.com. Let's talk about what's possible for your home.
State Roofing, the last roof you'll ever need.
Right now at Les Schwab, it's the deal you've been waiting for. The Score More sales event. Save up to $160 instantly on a wide selection of 4 tires and 4 wheels. Plus, every tire is covered by America's best tire warranty. 60-day satisfaction guarantee, no hassle road hazard protection, and free maintenance for the life of your tires. Just one more way you'll get more from less. Stop by the store or find your tires at leschwab.com. Limited time offer while supplies last. See leschwab.com/sale for details.
Safety comes first. When money is tight, Buc-ee's has you covered with available financing. For oil changes, wiper blades, brakes, tire rotation, tune-ups, and factory maintenance, it's Buc-ee's Complete Auto. No appointment necessary and financing's available. Check Buc-ee's.com for the location near you.
Here at NC Machinery, people always ask, what can you do with Cat compact equipment? Well, here goes. Build gardens, patios, and parking, set posts and poles, plant trees, remove pipes, stumps, and rocks, clear snow, brush and trees, trench, grade, and maintain. Landscape your backyard, your front yard, your neighbor's yard. Get through doorways, alleyways, and fence gates. Build ropes, trails, fire breaks. Move gravel, wood chips, and hay. Clean pens and barns. Break concrete, asphalt, and gravel. Use tools like hammers, tampers, trenchers, mulchers, and mowers. And for the doers doing, the landscapers, contractors, and landowners digging, call NC Machinery to get 0% for 60 months on select compact equipment. Terms and conditions apply.
Cressy Garage Doors. Make your home unique and stylish. Have it stand out from the other homes in your neighborhood. The #1 return on investment for your home. Cressy Garage Doors. since 1952.
The noon hour of the Bump and Stacy Show is powered every day by the caring and compassionate team at Pendergast Law Personal Injury Lawyers. Go to pendergastlaw.com.
Seahawks Insider, brought to you by Pacific Lamp and Supply. Now here's Maura Dooley.
In an NFL landscape where it seems like the next quarterback up for an extension automatically gets a deal north of $50 million, many have wondered what a new deal for Geno Smith next year would look like. ESPN insider Dan Graziano joined Bump and Stacy yesterday and gave his thoughts on that.
Any starting caliber quarterback is going to get picked. They got a nice deal on that contract after his first good year as a starter there, and it's conceivable he'd want more, but look at Baker Mayfield, right? After the year he had in Tampa, he gets 3 years and $100 million. So it's like 33 a year. And that's a year after Geno got 3 years and $75 million. So that gives you a sense of where these guys that are kind of in their second, third chapters and having success, like how the league looks at them.
The Seahawks Insider is brought to you by Pacific Lamp and Supply. For the latest on the Seahawks anytime, go to seattlesports.com.
Mike Rowe here with a quick question. Is your concrete sinking? Whether it's your driveway, sidewalk, or patio, those uneven surfaces are not just ugly, they're dangerous. That's where Groundworks comes in. They use state-of-the-art concrete lifting solutions to prevent tripping hazards, and they're the best at what they do. Schedule your free inspection at groundworks.com/row. And while you're there, check out my latest dirty job. It's a good one.
Licensed in all states where work is performed. See website for details.
Carl was a very safe cyclist. He was just a man who was trying to stay healthy.
I was riding along and I could see very well, but I didn't see something in front of me, and I flipped over the top and I landed on the back of my neck and ended up breaking my neck.
After his accident, we moved to Spokane because we physically could not get him into our house. Our daughter-in-law arranged for us to meet with 3 different law firms, and the Davis Law Group was the clear choice.
When I found out that the Supreme Court had ruled in our favor, I just remember that I was exhilarated. It was very elating. Chris did a great job.
Settling the case when we did, it means that we don't have to worry about stretching every single dollar. We always felt that they were going above and beyond.
Learn more about Carl's story at dlgstories.com/Carl.
This city is like none other. In Seattle, we ball out.
Geno steps up, throws the slant. What a catch!
We stand on business.
Turns outfield. Got him, Markham.
We unite 12 as one.
There he goes. DK.
And we get loud.
Touchdown! Seahawks!
Really loud. Because this city lives for Sunday. Get your tickets for Seahawks game days at Lumen Field and experience what this city lives for. Visit Seahawks.com today.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bump and Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
You're listening to Bump and Stacy. Curtis Rogers in for Michael Bumpus. I was waiting for the hi.
Hey.
Hi. We are starting
Glad to be
NFL
here. Thanks for having
headlines.
me.
In Philadelphia, did Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni accidentally reveal Jalen Hurts is dealing with an ankle injury that wasn't reported?
Yeah, he's dealing with it was on the injury report, dealing with the ankle, and just making sure we're precautious with everything.
What's wrong with the ankle? He wasn't on an ankle. I'm sorry, Jalen Hurts. It was an ankle?
What's that?
It was the rest.
That was the rest, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I thought you were talking about something else. All right.
You clear on dealing with an ankle problem?
No, rest.
The PR staffer clarified, by the way, at the end. It was rest. So.
I think the Eagles may be getting a fine here soon.
Nick, no offense, bro. I think you're lying. Like, I think that now, if I had to guess, again, we don't know anything, but we can speculate without consequence. I think that Jalen, I would believe it if in week 10 of the NFL season, a mobile quarterback is dealing with an ankle injury. It happens. Every player is dealing with an injury. Why you wouldn't report it is weird. I don't get that. If anything, I think the Seahawks over-report now under Mike McDonald, which I would probably do if I was a head coach, just to be safe.
Maybe,
why not?
Yeah, maybe you don't want to get have a competitive disadvantage. They're playing the Cowboys on Sunday, so the Eagles should handle Dallas pretty easily. It's a road game, sure, but Dallas has got Cooper Rush going up against the Eagles. I did see that Jalen Hurts in that game last week got tackled funny and his shoe came off, and at one point he was wearing 2 different shoes while on the field. So maybe that's where he did get hurt. But Nick,
come on, bro,
Sirianni, you got to know how serious the NFL takes the whole injury report thing. I get that.
You might think it's dumb.
Yeah, but that is not something to be messed around with.
Well, in the NFL, obviously, they take into account people wagering on things.
Yeah.
It's seen as like team prep and transparency, but it's just as much about reports and wagering and Vegas sports books and all that. But you guys couldn't see the clip. What you don't see, because you're listening to the audio of it, is when he's told by those reporters, wait, but Jalen wasn't on the injury report.
Just listed as arrested.
He turns and looks at Eagles PR and then looks back to the... So you don't see him turn and look and like, what do I do here? What am I supposed to do?
Yikes.
Next story. Will Levis will be back as the Titans starting quarterback on Sunday. According to head coach Brian Callahan, he has missed the last 3 games with a shoulder injury. Great news for Mike Lefko. Or is it? I don't know how Titans fans feel about Will Levis being back under center.
I'm glad to see that Will Levis is healthy. You're rooting for the health of a lot of these guys. But, yeah, he's not somebody that is making things better for Tennessee this season. Maybe too much mayonnaise in the offseason. That Tennessee team, boy, outside of their 2 wins, they beat New England on this past Sunday, and then they've beaten Miami. They have just gotten shellacked in all these games. I feel like they've got to be in the market for a quarterback after this season.
Absolutely. Moving on, let's talk about kind of our last look at last night's game. This one was just some interesting observations from ESPN's Jeremy Fowler. He says, one note from last night in Baltimore. Again, the Ravens won. He said the Ravens post-game locker room scene was a bit more somber than you'd expect after a heated divisional win. People with the team could sense it. Past defense owned the bad play. Wasn't exactly a celebration. That could be a good thing long term. So when I first started reading this, I thought, oh my God, did an important player suffer an injury and we just didn't. Exactly. Like, is Kyle Hamilton done for the year and maybe they know it, but we don't yet? Like, what's going on? But I could also buy that they were just mad. Like, yeah, we won this game and that's great. We gave up 400 passing yards.
Yeah,
and
we allowed Jamar Chase.
264 to Jamar Chase.
I think Jamar Chase has the most receiving yards against a single team in a season of any receiver in NFL history. 431 against this Ravens team this year. Yeah, I could imagine that defense is not happy with the performance they put up against Cincinnati. There are a lot of prideful guys in an NFL locker room, especially guys of a starting caliber and guys from a defense last year that was so good. I'm sure they're definitely not happy, not pleased with their performance. I'm sure the tape today that they watched probably reinforced a lot of those points that they were feeling after the game. But it's also, I think, a good mindset to see a team just kind of be like, we're not satisfied. We're not satisfied at all with the performance that we put forth, even though it came in a victory. They're not smoking cigars in that locker room.
A couple quick injuries. Saints wide receiver Chris Olave has been ruled out for Sunday's game. Not a surprise. He was forced out of this game with his 2nd concussion of the season. Mike Evans not going to be playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That is important for Seahawks fans because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Let's move on to another city here, though. This case, Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence looking unlikely to play on Sunday. Doug Peterson told reporters that himself today. That would mean Mac Jones, former Patriots quarterback, under center for Jacksonville with C.J. Beathard as the backup.
Mac Jones against Sam Darnold. A couple of reclamation projects.
One of whom is doing much better.
Yes, one of whom doesn't have a funny walk when he's walking to a podium. At least I've never seen Sam Darnold stride. But yeah, this Jacksonville season, really the last couple of Jacksonville seasons, have been such a disappointment because it looked like they were trending in the direction you want to be in with a young quarterback, a coach that has had success in the past, especially with quarterbacks Doug Peterson, the only coach to get the most out of Carson Wentz that anybody had. But, yeah, this Jacksonville team, I think they need a reset soon. I don't think you can move on from Trevor Lawrence. You just pay the guy.
Yeah.
But I would imagine Doug Peterson, if things don't turn in the season second half, he could be looking for a job at the end of the season.
The last story in NFL headlines, it's not a feel-good story. It's actually a really tragic story, but I do think it's important because it is about the community involvement that NFL teams feel that they should have, and I think rightfully so. So here's what happened. Ahead of that Monday Night Football game on November 4th, a Tampa Bay woman gifted her 18-year-old son, Connor, tickets to go see the Bucs and Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is his favorite quarterback. And on the way to this game, they were hit by a driver who veered into their lane and was going the wrong way. And Connor, the 18-year-old son, was killed in the accident, tragically. His mother, Megan, remains in the hospital. So Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers obviously hear about this. Like, here is a mother and son on their way to the game. The son tragically loses his life. The family around them are devastated. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers donated $10,000 to that family involved. And Baker Mayfield then released a statement and obviously saying, like, hey, my thoughts and prayers. And then he said, I'm honored and humbled knowing Connor was such a big fan. I would have loved to meet him. Have met him. As a new parent, this really hits home for me. I realize there are no words that can provide true comfort, but I hope Megan makes a full recovery and draws strength from the outpouring of support she's receiving from around the country. Again, it's a really tragic story, but a reminder at how important community should be to teams.
Right.
And they don't have to do that. Baker doesn't have to make a statement. The Bucs don't have to donate money, but I think that that's important.
Right. And luckily, I've never had a tragedy like that happen to me. I can't imagine, moving forward as a parent after something like that happens. But for people I know who have had stuff like this happen to them, those kinds of gestures, and not necessarily gestures from like professional sports teams, but just gestures of helping out means so much, and it goes so far. So credit to the Bucs organization, credit to Baker Mayfield for taking it upon themselves to help out in this horrible situation. But you just hope that, even the smallest gestures can help out in those kinds of moments.
All right, back to something less important, but still on the agenda for today. One NFL analyst gave Mike Macdonald a C grade through the first 9 games. Do we agree or disagree?
Blue 88 on Brock and Salk.
All right, I always like trying to figure out your answers to these questions, Brock. Upon further review, what Seahawk individual played one of the best games of his career?
Every day at 7:45.
Kobe Bryant, that hit at the end of the game was awesome. He went full speed to separate receiver from ball and did an amazing job at it. I don't know if he can ever be elite, but you kind of just feel his presence.
Blue 88, answering 3 football questions as only Brock Heward can.
This is Steve Alman with Pacific Power Batteries. I've been thinking we should focus our advertising better with maybe geofencing? Attaching cookies? Nah. How many of you out there in Radio Land need a battery right now, today? Raise your hand. Maybe 2% of the listening audience? Okay, that might be high. Maybe there's just 2 of you. So, Jim and Derek, if you're listening, come on into Pacific Power Batteries. We'll find the right battery no matter what it is.
Have you ever tried something for the first time and then wondered how you ever got along without it? That's how thousands of new Navage users describe their first experience. Once they feel sinus relief and can breathe clearly again, many wonder why it took them so long to experience the Navage difference. Navage uses refreshing saline and gentle suction to quickly suck out mucus, germs, and other airborne irritants. Stop suffering from congestion and start feeling better again with Navage. Brand new look, same great product.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Getting ready for more rain and longer nights? We've got you. Right now, you can earn up to $25 in bonus rewards when you buy 2 Sylvania Silver Star Ultra bulbs and 2 Rain-X Quantum Elite wiper blades. More rewards and better visibility at America's #1 lighting destination, AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Offer valid for AutoZone Rewards members. Restrictions apply.
If you need bold banners to boost your business, but you're on a budget, think Staples. Because now at Staples, you can save up to $50 on your print purchase. From posters and flyers to signs and menus, Staples can print anything you need to move your business forward. And with Staples Print Perfect Guarantee, it's done right or it's printed again free. Plus, same-day service is available on hundreds of items if you order by noon. Get it printed right at Staples. And now get up to $50 off your print purchase. And 7/6, visit staples.com/print for details.
Hey, it's Dr. Coogan with Eastside Weight Loss Clinic. Summer's over and you've had your fun, but now it's time to get back on track. Stop feeling frustrated and overwhelmed and start being excited about the new you that's possible. We want to be your teammate. No gimmicks, no tricks, no drugs. Just teaching you how to turn your body into a fat-burning machine and keep it off for the long term. We know the secret for fast and lasting weight loss using real healthy foods and lifestyle strategies designed to reset your metabolism. Schedule your free consultation online at eastsideweightlossclinic.com.
It's crazy how well it works while you're eating real, fresh, delicious food. The recipes are awesome. And just having somebody teach me how to make the right food, it helped an unbelievable amount as I lost 35 pounds.
Our program has successfully helped thousands of people lose 20 to 30 pounds or more in just 60 days. You can start our program in person in Kirkland or virtually from anywhere you live. Schedule your free phone consultation today by calling 425-588-0080 or eastsideweightlossclinic.com.
Dr. Ryan Coogan, D.C. Results may vary. Bonneville International radio station contests are open to participants 18 years of age or older that are residents of Washington State unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contests are not eligible to win unless the station otherwise specifies at its own discretion. Persons who have won in the last 60 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available on seattlesports.com or in person at the station during regular business hours.
Seahawks Player Spotlight.
Man, it felt good to go out there and be able to contribute.
Exclusive interviews with your favorite Seahawks.
You know, we got a genius as the head coach.
Every day with Wyman and Bob.
In the fall, when the weather starts to change, Washington State sees an uptick in auto theft. Help keep your car safe with these simple and important tips. Don't leave your car running or warm it up unattended with the keys inside. Park in well-lit areas. Lock up every time. Keep valuables out of sight. Use an anti-theft device like a steering wheel lock. Share this information with friends and family. Prevent the theft and keep yourself and your vehicle safe. These tips are brought to you by the Washington Auto Theft Prevention Authority.
Lovebirds, you're in for a treat. With your holiday proposal just around the corner, Shane Company is here to help you create your dream engagement ring. This is your moment. Let's make it magical. Through 4 generations as a family business, we've helped tons of couples find a beautiful engagement ring for a price that works with their budget. We've always sourced diamonds directly, cut out the middleman, and passed the savings on to you. At Shane Company, we have the widest selection of ring settings and center stones, in stock and ready to compare side by side. It's so easy. Choose a look that brings your vision to life. From classic styles to modern designs, we have them all. Then pick out a natural or lab-grown diamond, a sapphire in your favorite color, or a vibrant gemstone like ruby or amethyst. With our everyday competitive prices and free lifetime warranty, your forever after is safe with us. Visit shaneco.com and come see us in store. We've got your dream ring and fine jewelry gifts for everyone on your list. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
My Seahawks jersey is more than just a piece of clothing.
It's a symbol of the unique spirit of my city.
Creating a sense of community and belonging.
A bond uniting us and a love for the game.
This is my jersey.
This is my jersey.
This is my jersey.
This is the Pro Shop. You can find your new favorite jersey at the Seahawks Pro Shop. Shop online at Seahawks.com or visit us at the Landing in Renton or Lumen Field.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
All right, one NFL expert was asked to give Mike McDonald a grade for the season. Greg Rosenthal, he was on with us earlier this week, and this is what he had to say.
He's a C. The defense has been more erratic than I would have expected considering the talent. I do think he's helping develop, and some of those young players on the defensive line look good. I think the linebacker decisions they made in the offseason just have really not worked out for them and has changed everything. And on offense, in terms of his, coaching and the decisions he made hiring Ryan Grubb, it's just the line, but If you told me before the season they were 4-5, like that sounds about right. Their over/under was 6.5 or 7.5. I like the over for that. I still do. They've just been a little more erratic overall, like a little sloppy in terms of the penalties and some of the decisions. But overall, I'm not that worried about Mike Macdonald long term. I think you got to give him a little time to install his culture, his defense. And so if you ask me at the end of the season and they've still been this erratic, it would be a lower grade, but I expect it to get better in the second half of the year.
Okay, so expects them to get better in the second half of the season, but for now is giving Mike Macdonald a C grade. He kind of did combine it with an evaluation of the Seahawks, but would you give Mike Macdonald a C? Do you agree or disagree with Greg's analysis?
I like a lot of what Greg had to say in that take. I think it is, if you're going to give Mike Macdonald an F grade, if you're going to give him a D grade, then your expectations for this team might have been a little too high to begin with. I don't think anybody in the offseason viewed this team as a Super Bowl contender. I don't think anybody in this market viewed them as, I mean, there were maybe some people that thought they could compete for an NFC West title if everything went right, which is so hard to do in the NFL. You're going to have injuries to key guys all the time. If I'm going to grade Mike Macdonald right now, I'm going to give him a C+. And I think I forget who it was that we had on this, maybe it was this week or last week, who said, look, he had the least amount of time of any head coach to put a staff together to get everything going because the Seahawks were the last team to make a hire. They waited about a month after Pete Carroll was let go before waiting for the Ravens to get eliminated, before having that opportunity to interview Mike Macdonald. And then it was between them and the Commanders, both teams basically coming down to Dan Quinn and Mike Macdonald for their job opening. The Seahawks wanting Mike Macdonald a little bit more than the Commanders did. So that's why Macdonald is here in Seattle. And that short amount of offseason, I get that it was, a month, but still, that is a lot of time in the NFL. Especially if you're a first-time head coach, you are behind a lot of guys that are not first-time head coaches, that are guys with entrenched systems here. So I am giving Mike Macdonald a C+. And like Greg said, there is definitely room for improvement. There is definitely time to improve too, which is the good thing about this. That's a good thing about the Seahawks bye this year, is that it came at basically the midway point of the season. So I'm giving him a C+. Stacey, what are you giving him?
I'd probably go along with this texter. I cannot fairly give an A, even though I think that the primary issue with this club is roster construction and talent. They have really good skill position players on offense. They have a really bad offensive line. So when you look at the roster, you go, I don't know, I think it's an okay roster, but where it matters in the trenches, they've really, really needed to make steps there and haven't. Defensively, they have. I shouldn't say that. Defensively, they've made steps, but offensive line is a problem. But you're the most penalized team in the league. You are a game below 500. There is an aspect somewhere in here of a new head coach still figuring it out. So I can't, in good faith, give an A. This listener says he gets a B-. Most of the responsibilities on player and lacks of execution and sloppy play. Eventually, that does become a coaching thing.
Yes.
And one move that I've liked is moving on from Jerome Baker, right? Like, that was a front office decision also, but doing something about bad play is important.
Yes.
But yeah, I think C+, B- in that territory. I haven't seen anyone say F.
No, I don't. I haven't seen anybody either say F, and I just think if you're grading that harshly in a coach's first 9 games, unless the Seahawks were 0-9 at this point of the year, or 1-8 or 2-7, I don't think you can sit there and say that this is a failure. That's what F stands for, by the way. I don't know if you know that. This is not a failure at all. In fact, as has been pointed out, the Seahawks are darn close to having a winning record. I mean, they've had a couple of games slip through their fingers. The Giants game, most notably, the Rams game this last Sunday. I mean, if those two go your way, you're looking at a 6-3 team right now. You're atop your division. You're up by a game on the Cardinals if those two games go your way. It's not like they are that far off from wild card contention in the NFC. I mean, heck, I think if you're going to make the playoffs this year, you got to win the division in the NFC West, because it just doesn't look like you're going to be overtaking any of those teams in the NFC North, which, I mean, you've got 3 really good teams.
Probably 2 from the East.
Yeah, 2 from the East. So
we'll see what happens with the South.
It's going to be an uphill battle if you want to sort of get in those murky waters of the wild card. It's still in front of you. It still is a possibility that you can get in. And look, if they make the playoffs in year 1 under Mike McDonald, I think you could definitely say that it's at least a B. I mean, I don't think anybody would be disappointed with a playoff appearance in year 1.
Now, what if I expand this?
Okay.
So you and I were looking at Mike McDonald, just Mike McDonald, and Greg Rosenthal gave him a C. You and I both hovered around C+, B- territory, a little more favorable. What if instead of Mike McDonald, I said, what grade would you give the Seahawks? An organization, a team, right now, what grade would you give the Seahawks? You're through the first half of the season. You are entering into your bye week. You've got 8 games left to play. A winning season, not only still in play, but winning your division still in play. You've got a little bit out of your control, but you still got games against every divisional opponent and obviously some time to make up ground. What grade would you give the Seahawks through the season's first half? 866-979-3776. Call now. 866-979-3776. Very, very simple question. What grade would you give the Seahawks through the season's first half? That's next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
There was some hope that perhaps they would address the O-line issues at the trade deadline. They did not.
I didn't expect that there was going to be a lot of offensive linemen out there, just because, it's so hard to find good offensive linemen. You just kill for that right now, right? I mean, for the Seahawks, especially with all the injuries at right tackle. So that was my perception, that nobody wants to trade good offensive linemen, that they're just such a premium.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
With Floor Coverings International, the mobile flooring showroom comes to you. Book an appointment, pick out the flooring you like, and they'll order and install it for you. It's that easy. Visit FCIFloors.com to book an appointment. Floor Coverings International, the stars of flooring.
Ready to take your Seahawks game day to the next level? From pregame sideline passes to postgame field goal kicks, create unforgettable memories with friends and family this season at Lumen Field. Visit Seahawks.com/game day experiences to level up your game day.
My wife and I always loved doing everything together. Jiu-jitsu, kayaking, and intimacy was always on point. It was around my early 30s when I noticed a downward trend. Watching a lot of TV, putting on weight, and just full of self-doubt. I had tried another men's clinic with disappointing results. It's the personalized treatment I receive at Revive Men's Health that has been the complete game changer for me. I've got my energy and motivation back, I'm feeling stronger than I did in my 20s, and it made me a much better husband to my wife.
This is Dr. Andrew Allshouse of Revive Men's Health. If you're always feeling tired or moody, or your sleep is poor, you have low libido, you may be suffering from low testosterone.
Book your free T-check and exam. Call Revive Men's Health Seattle at 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Is chronic pain beginning to make your everyday life a challenge? Then call Dr. Daniel Nelson, MD, with Eastside Pain and Regenerative Medicine. With over 30 years of experience, no one has more experience in pain medicine techniques and stem cell therapy than Dr. Nelson. And here's what a satisfied patient had to say.
I was experiencing severe neck pain, kind of radiating from my shoulders up into my head. And it was pretty severe, and it lasted for about a year. So I went to see Dr. Nelson, and after I got the stem cell treatment, I had positive results within a week, and it just got better from there. And to this day, I can't believe I used to be in such pain. He was just an incredible doctor. Everything about the place is just fantastic.
So don't let pain control your life. Consider stem cell therapy with Dr. Daniel Nelson, MD. Call 425-823-4000 today. That's 425-823-4000 or go to danielnelsonmd.com.
O'Brien Auto Group has some of the best new car brands in the Northwest. Those great new vehicles make the best pre-owned vehicles as well. O'BrienAutoGroup.com for the best factory certified vehicles. O'Brien Auto O'BrienAutoGroup.com for a large selection of the best pre-owned cars and trucks. O'BrienAutoGroup.com. Choose from hundreds of SUVs, trucks, hybrids, EVs, and more. O'BrienAutoGroup.com. One site is all you need. That's OBRIEN Autogroup.com.
Don't let sinus problems, snoring, and allergies hold you back. I'm Dr. Ryan Stern with the Stern Sinus Center. Nasal congestion, sneezing, runny nose, snoring, facial pain are just a few sinus symptoms we can help you out with. From allergy workups and treatment to modern nasal breathing procedures to advanced outpatient balloon sinuplasty, we can diagnose and treat your problems. Let us help you get the relief you need easily, quickly, and permanently. Come see us in Federal Way and Auburn or at sternsinus.com. That's sternsinus.com.
Hey, it's Mike Salk here for my friends at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Yes, I said and hotel. If you're looking for a fun night out, Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel is just the place to go. Whether it's Vista Prime Steak and Seafood with their reimagined happy hour or Falls Buffet as well. The breathtaking views of the Snoqualmie Valley and Mount Si. You can find all the details at snocasino.com. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Only 30 minutes from downtown. Seattle's closest, Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
Endless hours of research, seeking referrals, dozens of calls. Hiring the right attorney can be a challenging process during an already difficult time. J.P. Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains.
In Washington State, Tom, there are thousands of attorneys to choose from. Referrals and online research can be helpful, but discovering the right attorney requires a conversation. It can be hard to identify integrity and authenticity without that interaction.
So, what do you recommend?
We encourage anyone looking for personal injury representation to call for a free consultation with our team before making a decision simply based on referrals or online research. Accident victims need an attorney that listens, demonstrates honesty, and is genuinely understanding of their unique circumstances. The care, attention, and preparation that our firm provides throughout the case mirrors the effort involved when taking on the insurance companies.
Save time and avoid mistakes after an injury. Contact the caring and compassionate team at Pendergast Law.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
The Seahawks are on a Week 10 bye, but the rest of the NFC West isn't, so here's what to keep an eye on in Week 10. The San Francisco 49ers are headed to the East Coast, taking on Tampa Bay. 10 a.m. kickoff on Fox. Christian McCaffrey expected to make his season debut. Mike Evans, meanwhile, for Tampa Bay, is out of this one. The Cardinals are hosting the 3-6 Jets at 1:25 on CBS, and on Monday night, the Rams are hosting the Miami Dolphins.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time.
This hour is brought to you by Mazda of Everett.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio,
this is Bump and Stacy
on Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
Here we go now. Turn my mic on. What grade would you give the Seahawks through well into the halfway point of the season, entering into the final 8 weeks here? 866-979-3776. I am so curious because, sometimes after a loss, Curtis, and this was a heartbreaking one to the Rams, sometimes after a loss, if I were to ask this question Monday after the Rams, I'd get straight F across the board, F, D-, fail. But now that we've had a couple days to digest it, and maybe have tried to find silver linings. I don't know. Maybe I won't get those grades. 866-979-3776. What grade would you give the Seahawks through the season's first half? Let's go to Matt in Tacoma. Matt, what grade would you give the Hawks?
Well, you might not like that it's not a normal grade, but I'm going to go incomplete as the grade for the Seahawks. It's like we're trying to grade a test that's only halfway through. A lot of the problems that they have are self-inflicted. They're not a lack of fundamental football knowledge or anything like that. It's just we really need to find a way to get out of our own way, and especially somebody needs to tap Ryan Grubb on the shoulder and say, you might want to adjust your scheme around this porous offensive line.
Fair. Matt in Tacoma saying incomplete. Speaking of Matt's last point about, look, you might want to tap Ryan Grubb on the shoulder. If you could tap Ryan Grubb on the shoulder, Matt would tell him you might want to adjust your scheme around the porous offensive line. What would you tell Ryan Grubb? Hang in there.
I really like
kitten.
Yeah, and you wrote this up too on SeattleSports.com is what Robert Mays told us earlier this week is just utilize play action more.
Yeah.
Like you will buy yourself just that extra smidgen of time to get the ball out and also have the threat of a run game, which does not exist right now with the Seahawks, despite you having a pretty talented backfield, at least with Ken Walker. So just get play action going offensively, and I think that can open up a lot. And you really can't call plays this year like you did last year at Washington when you had the best offensive line in the country. Like Michael Penix had all day to throw. He had, just the cleanest pocket imaginable and was able to throw darts to Roma Dunze, to Jalen McMillan, to Jalen Polk, and everything was on time. Everything was on schedule. That has not been the case this season. Geno Smith has pretty much, been running for his life every single week. Heck, it was even the case in the Broncos game week 1. He didn't have really anything going in that first half and then settled down in the second half. So, yeah, I think right now, if I was Ryan Grubb, I'd be like, just do something. Do anything you can right now to buy Geno Smith an extra quarter to half second of time to throw.
What grade would you give the Seahawks through the season's first half? 866-979-3776. We've had an incomplete. Let's go to Robert in Issaquah. Robert, what grade would you give the Hawks?
When I grade it, I'd probably go by a Rubik's, if you know what that means, like evaluation and the progress, seeing if they're progressing or are they regressing. I would have to give them a C- with a big red check mark on it for Ryan Grubb to read. Like, run the ball, please. Like what your co-host was just saying. If find something, have a tight end block off the edge to get the ball, to Walker's hands any way you possibly can.
Thanks for the call.
Why I give it a C- is because you see glimpses of perfection what Mike McDonald is going to bring to this team. And he just needs the right players. So a C- with a big red check mark on there. Thank you.
Thank you. I like Robert. I almost cut him off. Thank goodness I didn't, because I do like Robert explaining, like, look, this is why I gave him a C and not an A, but this is why I gave him a C and not an F.
Right.
Because I do like some things that I'm seeing. You see these glimpses.
For sure. And I think the best performance they had all season was against the Falcons, a road game against what has turned out to be a pretty good Falcons team. They're 6-3 right now. You dominated them, won 34-14, generated a lot of turnovers, moved the ball downfield with ease. You were having big plays against them. That is the best version of the Seahawks that you could ask for in 2024. And what stinks is that we saw it and they have not been able to get back to that level of play since. And really, that's the only time we've seen it over the last month. That's their one win since their 3-0 start was that big blowout win over the Falcons. So it has been unfortunate that they haven't been able to play like that again, but you see it, you know it's there, you know it's within them to play like that. It's just being able to tap in and get to that level again, which has been so frustrating to watch because we all know what they're capable of. It's just they haven't been able to get out of their own way.
What grade would you give the Seahawks right now? Halfway point of the season, one game beyond the halfway point. They're 9 games in. 866-979-3776. Call now. 866-979-3776. I have a question from a listener on the text line. I gotta like bookmark this to get to this in just a minute. Next caller, let's go to Scott in Redmond. Scott, what grade would you give the Seahawks?
Coming into the season, it was kind of like a mulligan. You have a whole brand new coaching staff across the board, putting in new plays, changing everything. But the one thing is, I'm going to give them a C because, players are learning. And, there was an article in the newspaper, I know you guys talked about, the closest thing we have to a superstar is DK Metcalf. Basically, I blame John Snyder for this. He's the one that's supposed to put the talent on the team. Now we're going through a transition where all these players are learning. You know what I mean? They're learning a new system. They're going through. There's been some, don't get me wrong, there's been some good spots.
Sure.
There's been some bad spots. But it's how we lose the games. I mean, blocked field goal, the return for a touchdown, we lose to the Giants. You know, we were on our way to beating the Rams. Oh, there's another one. We've been shooting ourselves in the foot, but it's talent. We don't have it. And we talk about the offensive line. I mean, yeah, Grubb, you just talked about it, had the best offensive line in football for the last 2 years. Our quarterback's good, but we need some help on there. And, you know, without the talent, you can't win at any level in baseball, basketball, football. You can't win without talent. And we know we don't have the talent. I mean, like I said, we have I consider superstars and then above average players close to being a star, but then we're just average.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's showing up.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Scott. Thank you for calling, and I'd probably agree with your grade. And the thing that Scott pointed out too, specifically on that offensive line, and that personnel was such a problem. I had someone text in the texter question that I loved was, if Pete was still head coach, would the Seahawks still be 4-5? And I thought about it, and I realized, like, you know what? I don't know. Maybe he's got a different connection with Geno. Maybe there's some different trust there. Yeah. Maybe the defense is playing a slightly different scheme. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question, but I do know they fundamentally would not be a contender because the fundamental problem is not one of coaching. It's your offensive line. And unless Pete's playing guard, which I'd love to see.
I think things might be even worse if 73-year-old Pete Carroll's out there playing guard.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's ultimately that.
I think the problems that exist are a lot of the problems that existed under Pete Carroll. You know, his messaging. There were times at the end of last season, especially when he went on with Brock and Salk, I do remember there was a time where I think it was Mike had asked him, you know, do you feel like your messaging is getting through to the guys? And Pete was like, ask them. Next. And that answer was very telling to me of where Pete was with sort of this era of Seahawk player compared to, you know, where they were a decade ago when they had the most success that this franchise has had. I don't know if Pete would have maybe the patience right now needed to get this thing going to where he ultimately wanted it to be, because I think Pete wanted to get back to a Super Bowl level of play, and just based off of the moves that they have or hadn't made over the last half decade and where the defense currently is and where the offensive line currently is, like, it's not going to happen overnight. And I think I still think it was the right move to move on from Pete Carroll and to bring in new eyes, especially ones that have not been here in any portion of the Pete Carroll run. And, you know, it's not going to be overnight, I don't think. And what stinks is that you see teams like the Commanders go from what they were a year ago to what they are now, but also they've got a way more talented quarterback than they've ever had.
And that is the equivalent of adding multiple players. Like when you get a great quarterback, he's mobile, all these things are great. Like you may as well have added a couple blue chip players because that is how impactful that position is. I got an interesting text from Willem in Maple Valley before I get to our next caller here. Willem, a regular listener. I do disagree with him on this one, though. Defense gets a B-, offense gets an F-. Overall grade would be a C. And maybe that's where most people are landing. I think, though, there's a bit of recency bias here. Willem, hear me out. This defense is still one of the worst run defenses in football. They had a really good performance against the Rams and against the Falcons, and you've seen better performances overall from the defensive line now that they've got Byron and Leonard and everyone all together healthy. They are a bottom third team in points allowed. Meanwhile, their passing offense is one of the best in football. It's a one-dimensional offense.
Right.
So I think that because the offensive line is so bad, we're seeing the offense as a problem. Defense is great. Man, you got to figure out that second level of the defense still.
Yeah, the defense is in no shape. They've not reached their final form.
Yeah,
and they're gonna need a good strong second half.
Coming back.
Yeah,
I'll make one more reference. I'll threaten that.
Let's see it.
Let's go to John in Sumner. John, what grade would you give the Hawks through the season's first half?
Hey, I'm going to give them a firm C+ for the first half. And I think we have to objectively look at what the expectations were coming to the season. I think that national pundits looked at this team and said, hey, they are a untalented roster. We were seeing estimates in the 2-15, 3-14 range. And I think that there was a false sense of hope with the 3-0. I think we could objectively look at each game isolated outside of the Buffalo game and outside of a quarter or so of the San Francisco game. We've been right there with every one of these teams. And if you look at taking a year to get this 36, 7, 8-year-old, whatever Mike McDonald is, year old coach in there, get his message across, I think you may look at it and see like a, first year Dan Campbell to second year Dan Campbell Lions jump, or this year Commanders jump next year when you have a whole off season of, unity on what players we need, what the scheme needs, how does the film look on the field. And hey, these players aren't playing badly. We're looking at a couple of poorly executed plays that are costing us games. Woolen gets his head around on that touchdown, probably doesn't score there. Woolen breaks up hits that pick. He dives in on that ball in the fourth quarter drive. We probably win that game. And if Geno doesn't underthrow 3 balls or throw 2 bad picks, you're probably winning that game as well. And I think we're sitting here going, hey, we're a game above 500. We're in the division. And all of a sudden we're feeling like this is a B- team that could make a run.
Thanks for the call, John.
Thanks, John.
Curtis, I saw you nodding right along with John. I know you agreed with him on a few points. What stood out?
Yeah, especially with how close that they've been in a lot of these games. I think he brings up a lot of good points in saying that we are so close to having a lot better feelings about this team, especially if they had gone into the bye getting that Rams win, if they had gone into the, if they had picked up a win here or there prior to Week 9, and you're looking at a 5-4, 6-3 ball club. Like, yeah, absolutely. You look at this team, and I also like what John had to say about, maybe next year is the year that you look at and say, all right, this is when you're going to have more pieces in place. This is when you can set expectations a little bit higher than what they were heading into this season. And it got me thinking about like Kyle Shanahan and how his start in San Francisco was not good. Like first year he goes 6-10, second year he goes 4-12. Like there's regression in that year too. Now, year 3 is when they get Nick Bosa and things really take off for them. They go to the Super Bowl at 13-3. They have a 9-game improvement between 2018 and 2019. But, I mean, Kyle Shanahan was 10-22 his first 2 seasons in San Francisco. Since then,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, since then, I mean, he's done is win.
Right.
But progress for one team, specifically the Commanders, the team that we all kind of look at right now and be like, why can't we be that? Why can't we be the Lions? I mean, Dan Campbell, perfect example, did not have a good start to his Lions career. I mean, the players were definitely playing for him, playing hard for him, but that first season, they were struggling to get their first win of the year. I don't think it came until probably like week 10, week 11.
That first half was awful.
Yeah.
And you saw fight. It takes a minute. To settle in. Let's go to Dano calling from Seattle. Dano, what grade would you give the Seahawks through the first half?
Hey, Stacey. Thanks for taking my call. Love the show even without Bump. Bump is my guy. I love the guy.
Same.
You know what? I'm going to be the optimist here. I got to say an A-, and here's my reasoning. So we've had terrible defense for the last 5 years. Awful. And you didn't really improve that defense as far as players go, in my opinion. We have no premier edge rusher. Our offensive line is just awful. So factoring all that with a new coaching staff and everyone, coming into the building, with what they've done, I honestly believe that they have done pretty darn good. I'm going to give them an A-.
Fair argument. Curtis, Dano hates you. I'm just kidding.
I know. I picked up on that. I totally picked up on that.
Dano with a
I'm
shout
here
out
every day, Dano.
Dano with a shout out to Bum. Dano also with the highest grade that I have either heard from a caller or seen on the text line all day. What did you make of it?
I mean, Dano, if he feels that way about me, he must feel the same way about Pete Carroll too. If he gives them an A-, I mean, sure, there has been a lot of change, but when I look at giving the 2024 Seahawks, if I were to give them an A grade, 4-5 is not the record I would have in mind for them with an A grade, unless we were coming off of a 1-win season or what have you. But A to me, that is the offense moving in multiple facets, not just through the air, but also on the ground. Ken Walker is, threatening for 1,000 yards and whatnot. The defense is making strides specifically in generating turnovers. I would not put them as an A right now. If they finish the season great, I think you could definitely, at least get close to an A grade, B plus. If they finish with double-digit wins, not to say that they will, you got to have a really good finish to the season. I think you got to go like 6-2 over your final 8 games to finish with double-digit wins. But an A, that's credit to you for seeing the good in this.
Well, take a listen to this texter who's, I don't know if the 650 would give the same grade as Dano, but they're making a similar case, Curtis. They said, listen, you have a first-year head coach, first-year offensive coordinator, first-year defensive coordinator, first-year special teams coach. It's going to take about 10 or 11 games to even get everything where Mike McDonald wants it. They said, look, 2 things I wish happened before the year, maybe another offensive lineman or 2 that were legit, like via trade or free agency. I do also wish Mike would have brought someone over with him from Baltimore that knows the defense. Great points. I like that first half, though. Like, hey, not only is every single coach new to this team, every coach is new to the NFL or maybe briefly returning or, you know what I mean? Like in some kind of new role. I know Adden Dirty isn't new to the NFL, but new to being a defensive coordinator. Everything is new.
It is. And I think that's a great point that the 650 brings up, is just the lack of experience for not just Mike McDonald, but for everybody in a coordinating role on this staff. That is going to be very tough when the most experienced guy on your coaching staff is Leslie Frazier, and he's not necessarily, a coordinator. He's there kind of in an advisory role and like, how can I help you out role?
Yeah.
But Dirty, it's his first year as a defensive coordinator. Ryan Grubb, it's his first year as an NFL offensive coordinator. That's a big ask of a lot of these guys to come in and not have any sort of growing pains in year one. Like, it's not just the players who are adapting to this scheme. It's a lot of these guys adapting to roles that they've never had before.
Including new dad. First-time dad, Mike McDonald.
Yeah, that's going to be, I think him and his wife are due probably, next month.
I think pretty soon. Okay, I will tell you this. Dano gave them an A. I don't think Tony's going to. Tony, from Yakima.
What do you got, Tony?
What grade would you give the Seahawks?
D+. They never win at the point of attack. That's what football's about, the line of scrimmage. They don't win at the point of attack on offense. They don't win at the point of attack on defense. And they don't take advantage of the places where they do have an advantage. When they run stick routes, man, they move the ball. They just stop doing it. And it's just beyond me how they can consistently get beat at the line of scrimmage like they do. The run fits were much better last week, watching from the 300 level. But I'll say this, I've never seen a team whose players have to be moved around so much. Terrell Dodson was moving somebody on virtually every play last week. And that's just crazy to me, that you can't get 11 guys lined up where they're supposed to be.
Thanks for the call, Tony.
Thanks,
Great
Tony.
Observations from the 300 level. Man, eagle eyes over here. That was a D plus from Tony, not B. D as in dog. And I like Tony saying, look, I'm asking you to do one thing, and it's play football. And I'm
level.
Desperately asking you to play football.
Low man wins. No, yeah.
He's right, though.
It is very frustrating on both sides of the ball to see your defensive line get pushed back and to see your offensive line not create lanes for your guys, to not keep your quarterback upright. That is where the game is won and lost in 2024. You've got to build up that offensive line if you want to give your offense that lives and dies through the passing game enough time to throw the ball. It's not good enough to just kind of say, all right, here's 5 offensive linemen that we picked up off the street. You make magic happen, Gino. We need you to do it every single play. You can't afford to take a play off here and there. It's really tough, and I think those are great points made by Tony. You've got to build up those trenches. I think they are off to a good start defensively, picking Byron Murphy in the first round, re-signing Leonard Williams. I think those are really good moves. You're seeing Derek Hall and Boye Mafe make strides this season. So hopefully that continues heading into next season. But, I think the trenches need to be of the utmost importance going forward.
Steve in Port Orchard, you're our last caller. I have heard A-, C+, C-, D+. What grade would you give the Seahawks?
I'm going to go with a D-, and I am kind of grading them on a curve, a reverse curve that's kind of giving them a harder grading scale, and it's just because all of these moves and everything that happened in the off season were to make them better. We came off a season that wasn't a disappointment completely, I don't feel. And so I feel like we're behind the 8 ball from where we were last year by a ways. And then also I just feel...
Go ahead, Steve.
Oh, and I just feel that, like the last caller had said, the defensive and offensive lines, we need some kind of foundational piece to build from. And instead we're going the same direction we've always been, where we're trying to plug and play, and it doesn't work.
Thank you so much for the call, Steve. When I said go ahead, Steve, I felt like basically the 8th Steve in my head.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Steve.
Talk to me. Thank you, Steve, John, all of our callers today. We got to come back with some of our thoughts. I'm going to cut us off. We're going to come back and talk about, I think, a very, very clear common denominator with these answers. Don't go anywhere.
Seattle Sports, your home for Brock and Salk.
A guy that never rests during an NFL season, Brian Baldinger from the NFL Network.
Weekdays 6 to 10.
Where does this O-line, Baldy, fit with their 31 other peers in the league?
I mean, they're not a strong group. You know, they look like backups. They got backups in there right now, and Ryan Grubb is a deep ball thrower. You know, he wants to push the ball down the field, and those guys aren't holding up in order to run that style of offense right now.
Don't miss an hour of the show. Find the podcast at seattlesports.com.
Hey, Brock Ewart here with Shannon O'Kelly, President and CEO of IRG Physical and Hand Therapy. And Shannon, we're not just rehabbing injuries anymore. Now we're in the business of speed and performance. Talk to me.
Yeah, Brock, we're really excited. We just opened up our IRG Physical Therapy and Sports Institute in Fremont. It's 5,000 square feet of AstroTurf rubberized flooring. We're not only going to treat your physical therapy conditions, but we're also going to help you as a patient athlete, a recreational athlete, work on strength, speed, explosion, vertical explosion, horizontal explosion. I mean, we're going to create an athlete out of you and get you back to activity at your best.
What was the genesis of this?
Oh, there's a huge need out there. I mean, you talk to people and you start looking at patients that are going through rehab. Rehab is just part of the processing, getting people to a point, but then the next point is really doing the strength and function explosion and the athletic training skills that everybody wants and needs.
Schedule online right now at irgpt.com, irgpt.com.
I'm attorney Rob Iddens, proud Marine Corps veteran and owner of Warrior Injury Law. I'm a 5th-generation Pacific Northwesterner, graduated from UW and Seattle U School of Law. At Warrior Injury Law, we have years of experience in the trenches, fighting insurance companies for the people of Washington, my people. If you've been injured, you need a lawyer that is tough, confident, and battle-tested. Call us at 253-WARRIOR for your free case review. Warrior Injury Law, battle-tested.
My wife and I always loved doing everything together. Jiu-jitsu, kayaking, and intimacy was always on point. It was around my early 30s when I noticed a downward trend. Watching a lot of TV, putting on weight, and just full of self-doubt. I had tried another men's clinic with disappointing results. It's the personalized treatment I receive at Revive Men's Health that has been the complete game changer for me. I've got my energy and motivation back, I'm feeling stronger than I did in my 20s, and it made me a much better husband to my wife.
This is Dr. Andrew Elshouse of Revive Men's Health. If you're always feeling tired or moody, or your sleep is poor, you have low libido, you may be suffering from low testosterone.
Book your free T-check and exam. Call Revive Men's Health Seattle at 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Build up to Black Friday with savings all month long at Lowe's. Get up to 50% off select major appliances. Plus take an additional 10% off when you buy select major appliances. And don't wait to pick up holiday inflatables under $20. Don't wait to save, in-store or online now, because Lowe's knows deals. Valid 11/6 through 12/4. Cannot be combined with additional discounts. See Lowe's.com for details and qualifying items while supplies last.
If you need bold banners to boost your business, but you're on a budget, think Staples. Because now at Staples, you can save up to $50 on your print purchase. From posters and flyers to signs and menus, Staples can print anything you need to move your business forward. And with Staples Print Perfect Guarantee, it's done right or it's printed again free. Plus, same-day service is available on hundreds of items if you order by noon. Get it printed right at Staples. And now get up to $50 off your print purchase. And 7/6, visit staples.com/print for details.
For Down Territory, going inside the game with Michael Bumpus.
I like this. More quarterbacks should start doing this.
Every day at 11:15 and 1:15 on Bumpin' Stacy. Seahawks Insider, brought to you by Pacific Lamp and Supply. Now here's Maura Dooley.
Seahawks first-round pick, rookie defensive tackle Byron Murphy has a half sack, 20 tackles, and 1 quarterback hit in 6 games so far this season. NFL Network's Brian Baldinger joined the Brock and Salk show yesterday and talked about what he's seen from Murphy so far.
He's struggling a little bit. He's a little undersized when he goes up. Maybe not at Texas he was, but, he's going up. Like last week, I thought there was a pretty good matchup with him and the rookie Bo Limmer from the Rams when he was matched up on him. And I wouldn't say that Murphy beat him. I mean, I think it was a pretty good duel inside. I think he's spending too much time wrestling, with guys in front of him right now rather than trying to figure out quick escapes. And that's kind of normal for young guys. Generally, these guys need a full redshirt year.
The Seahawks Insider is brought to you by Pacific Lamp and Supply. For the latest on the Seahawks anytime, go to seattlesports.com.
Are you curious about who offers the best deals on top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs? The answer is surprising. It's not online, and it's not the warehouse clubs. The best deals on top-rated TVs are at Video Only. Don't believe it? Then check out the trade-in deals at Video Only. How about $500 for your old TV? Try doing that online. Before you buy that new TV, drop into Video Only. If you don't, you'll be sorry.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car can be picked up as soon as the next day. Receive a tax deduction and vacation voucher.
1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Have you tried the dining district at the Bellevue Collection? Grab lunch with friends, meet up for happy hour, and stay for dinner and beyond. You can sample international flavors and local favorites from talented chefs. Try a new cocktail on a rooftop bar or watch the game with friends and explore the lively nightlife scene. The Dining District at the Bellevue Collection, where your taste adventure begins. Learn more at BellevueCollection.com/dining district.
It's comedian Tom Segura at Emerald Queen Casino Event Center, Friday, April 25th.
My kids call me Tom. So unnerving. Every day, the older one's like, "How you doing, Tom?" I go, "Hey, I'm not your fucking stepdad, all right? I wish I was. It'd be a lot easier, but I'm not."
Tickets at emeraldqueen.com. One of today's biggest touring comedians, Tom Segura's Come Together Tour, April 25th at Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest. 21 and older, need gambling help? Call 800-547-6133 or visit emeraldqueen.com.
Please game responsibly. This hour is brought to you by Mazda of Everett.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
It's a Football Friday powered by the Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Get your questions in for What I Need to Know, 866-979-3776. You have 20 minutes, right? My math is mostly right. 25 minutes.
Like 13
15 minutes. Matt's face looks so confused. This is what happened, Matt.
The segment starts at 1:45.
I know. This is what happened. I did the math to end a show and not the math.
Oh.
And
well,
so
even then
math.
you're off
No,
by
I'm not.
like 8 minutes because it's...
We don't need to keep talking about this.
You were having such a great day, Stacy.
866-979-3776. Get your questions in for What I Need to Know, and none of them better be about my math. Do not send a single.
Or conversely, all of them be about Stacey's math
Do not send a single text about my math. I don't want to hear it. I'm just going to say it's sexism.
Train leaves Denver at 60 miles an hour.
Shut up!
At 4 p.m.
We're moving on. I did get a text from a listener, and I liked this text, and it was very related to what we were talking about. So 360, you are leading off our segment here. Here's my worry, says the 360. Most of this roster has been constructed with a drastically different style of play in mind compared to what McDonald and Ryan Grubb want to do. I think we need to see meaningful personnel turnover on both sides of the ball for their philosophies to shine. They gave them a C+ for the season, but I really liked the point. I don't fully agree with it, but I think it's a really smart point. So do you feel the way this listener does, which is, look, the problem with bringing in a new head coach and a new OC is they might shine with entirely different weapons. And are you like square peg, round hole with these coaches?
Yeah, and I kind of go back to Ryan Grubb's time at Washington and how they were able to turn things over so quickly with Kalen DeBoer and Grubb there. And I think the biggest difference is in the college game compared to pro is that in the pro world, you have contracts to abide by and guaranteed money that makes it really hard to move certain players that you maybe don't want or don't fit your scheme. So you're going to have to assimilate to them rather than fully implementing your style that you want. Whereas in the college ranks, I mean, you're not, obviously not going to like kick a guy off the team, but you could probably encourage him to like, hey, I think you're going to have a much better time of finding playing time if you enter the portal, if you seek out these NIL opportunities that you're going to get maybe elsewhere. Whereas in the NFL, you're kind of stuck with what you got unless you're able to do some pretty significant roster maneuvering in an off season. The Seahawks have never been one to really, outside of the Russell Wilson trade, take on a lot of dead cap and move stuff around and stuff like that. Like they are very much by the book more often than not. But you're going to have opportunities to get guys in here over the coming years, over the coming off seasons that do fit your style more often. What kind of, I think the most frustrating thing about the offense this season, outside of just the offensive line play, is that you looked at the playmakers that the Seahawks had at the skill positions.
Yeah.
And it mirrored a lot of what Washington had last year.
Speak on that. Because I was thinking that with this listener, and I found myself going more to defense, being like, yeah, Mike McDonald needs a Roquan Smith. But offensively, I can absolutely find comparisons between Geno and Michael Penix, between the wide receivers at Washington and the wide receivers here. Like, you should be able to actually translate a lot of schemes.
Right.
Or, excuse me, a lot of the scheme.
Definitely. And one thing that worked a lot at Washington last year that I don't think we've seen to the degree is the vertical passing game. I mean, yes, DK has been out the last couple of weeks, so they haven't had their number one vertical target to throw to. But last week, when JSN, went further down the field, they had a lot of success throwing to him. He had a couple of big-time receptions. I think he had the 46-yard reception. I think he had like a 29-yarder as well in that game. I kind of wonder what it is about, maybe NFL defenses aren't as generous as college defenses. You're going up against defensive backs and safeties and other players that are just simply better than what Cal is running out there, what ASU is running out there. Shout out Paul Moyer.
You're not going to see college offensive numbers in the NFL.
No, you're not. And
minus Jamar Chase's game last night.
Exactly. 264 and 3 touchdowns.
That's
Are you
a college
kidding me?
game.
Yeah, so I think that has been one of the biggest things where it's like, okay, you've got the skill position guys here. Why isn't it translating?
Right.
I think it does ultimately come back to the offensive line.
Yes. Offensive line, for sure. And then I think that Grubb is able to open up a lot. And you'd still love to see, even with the offensive line they have right now, we've talked about it many times today, a little more play action. But moving to the defense, yes, I don't think that Mike McDonald has all the pieces he needs in order to have an exceptional defense. One thing that's kind of stuck in my mind, though, that this texter made me think of is what he's inheriting versus what his strength is. I have no idea if Mike McDonald can build an elite run defense because he didn't have to do it in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
When he came to Baltimore, Baltimore was horrible. I shouldn't say horrible. They were porous against the pass, and they were not consistent with their pass rush. And they had, though, been a top 5, certainly a top 10, and honestly a top 5 run defense for several years. So when he came there, it was, can we figure out how to blitz more effectively? Can we figure out how to force 3rd and long? Can we figure out how to stop these quarterbacks in the AFC from throwing all over us? For goodness sakes, like, help us stop Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. And, you know, we're facing these young guys with huge arms, and we're just giving up way too many yards. And he did. He did an amazing job with that. But when he came to Seattle, it was the opposite. It was, we got some defensive backs we like, and you know, we've got a defensive line we're investing in, but for the life of us, we can't tackle, and we can't stop the run, and that is a completely different job.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I am not smart enough as an NFL. I've never been an NFL coach, and I'm not gonna be. So I don't know what trying to absorb that is like. But one of the puzzles to me is, how does he solve that? Does he have the pieces he needs to create a great run defense? Because he didn't have to do that before.
No. And I think that's going to be a big way in which we judge his first season here, especially at the end of it, of like, okay, you've got 9 weeks of actual results and what you see that doesn't work and what you've seen that does work. All right, I think it's going to be way easier to fix the run defense than it is to fix anything on the offensive line. I think the offensive line, this is what you got for the rest of the season. But I feel like the run defense is something that with the right coaching, with just the right messaging, you can see it improve. We saw Leonard Williams talk about it last week where he's like, guys are just, you know, maybe being a little too aggressive out there. They're trying to do too much. Like, everybody just needs to stick to their assignments. Maybe that's what it takes, because you had success last week against the Rams rushing attack. That's going to be a big way in which this defense ultimately gets judged here in year one, is if they can make those improvements here in the season's second half.
You know what makes me sad about what I need to know?
What is it?
It's one of my favorite segments because it's super focused on listener engagement, and it feels like a fun community, just chill 10-minute time.
Right.
We have never gotten anything, though, as good since the Reggie story. And the Reggie story started
we need some
with
messiness.
Oh, my God. I just desperately need it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the Reggie story initially started, for anyone who has no idea, which is probably most of you, when a listener texted in for what I need to know. And instead of a sports question, I think his name's Isaac, he's a regular listener, he was like, hey, so this guy is bringing my wife a slice of cake from like a specialty bakery. Is
Should I
that
be
weird?
worried about this?
And it was this simple question, and the text line exploded. And this became a multi-week saga until this guy from her job was eventually fired. Oh, God. Anyways, what I need to know is coming your way next. 866-979-3776. Send in any question now.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
There was some hope that perhaps they would address the O-line issues at the trade deadline. They did not.
I didn't expect that there was going to be a lot of offensive linemen out there. Just because, you know, it's so hard to find good offensive linemen. You just kill for that right now, right? I mean, for the Seahawks, especially with all the injuries at right tackle. So that was my perception, that nobody wants to trade good offensive linemen, that they're just such a premium.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
I'm Bradley Johnson with 1-800-DUI-AWAY. Let's talk about hockey. Don't you love a sport where it's almost fair game to throw off your gloves and bare knuckle it in that gray area? Hockey brings excitement, intensity, passion, often drinking. It's like a party with a puck. If you enjoy too many shots at the bar while watching slap shots on the ice, don't try to make a breakaway, because the police won't just stonewall your goal. They're much more likely to throw you in that penalty box. And it won't be just a few minutes to think about what you did. Go ahead, enjoy cracking one open. Just don't overdo it. Call 1-800-DUI-AWAY or go to 1-800-DUI-AWAY.com for your free private consultation. Hockey is one of the only sports where you can wrap around the goal and there's no out of bounds. But the roadway is a different story. Call 1-800-DUI-AWAY.
1-800-DUI-AWAY.
This is Stacey Rost. Is that leaky faucet driving you crazy? Don't wait until it becomes a flood. Call Ben's Plumbing, Heating, and Air. At Ben's Plumbing, they pride themselves on 5-star service, where your satisfaction is their priority. Whether it's a stubborn clog or a complete plumbing overhaul, their team of dedicated professionals is here to help with no commission sales tactics. Just honest, reliable service you can count on. Call today at 206-789-5353 or visit Ben's.plumbing. That's Ben's.plumbing.
Want to listen to Seattle sports on your smart speaker?
Hey, smart speaker, play Seattle sports.
This message is powered by the EQC Sportsbook at Emerald Queen Casino. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
Heritage Mechanical and Auto Repair reminds listeners many uniformed personnel and healthcare providers will spend this holiday season working hard to keep us safe. These heroic men and women spend long hours away from home, protecting our freedom and providing critical medical care. Please thank them for their many sacrifices and putting their lives on the line for us every day. Happy holidays to you and yours from the entire team at Heritage Mechanical and Auto Repair. Family owned and proudly serving our community since 1998.
An airliner heads for Alaska with 101 passengers and crew. Then, somewhere over the Gulf of Alaska, Flight 293 slams into the icy waters below.
Even if all 4 engines quit, it just doesn't fall out of the sky.
No bodies were recovered. Loved ones had no closure and were left to wonder.
What happened to Flight 293?
Unsolved Histories, What Happened to Flight 293 is available now, wherever you get your podcasts.
Stream every Seattle sports show with the Seattle Sports app. Brought to you by Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center Proton Therapy. Get new videos, podcasts, and articles on the Seahawks and Mariners from your favorite Seattle sports personalities daily.
Are you constantly dealing with a runny nose, nasal congestion, or stuffiness? Always having to clear your throat or coughing? I'm Dr. Ryan Stern with the Stern Sinus Center. Rhine Air is a simple, non-invasive procedure that can significantly reduce your symptoms. This long-lasting treatment is available here in my office. In a clinical study, 88% of Rhine Air patients experience a significant reduction in their symptoms. We're proud the Stern Sinus Center was recently named a nationwide center of excellence. Schedule your appointment in Auburn or Federal Way or go to sternsinus.com.
The Mike McDonald Show, the first word from the head coach after every Seahawks game.
We want to play a certain way, and you're just going to chisel away at it every day.
Presented by Emerald Queen Casino.
Hey, it's Mike Salk here for my friends at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Yes, I said and hotel. If you're looking for a fun night out, Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel is just the place to go. Whether it's Vista Prime Steak and Seafood with their reimagined happy hour or Falls Buffet as well. The breathtaking views of the Snoqualmie Valley and Mount Si. You can find all the details at snocasino.com. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Only 30 minutes from downtown. Seattle's closest, Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
Hey, Brock Heward here with Shannon O'Kelly, President and CEO of IRG Physical and Hand Therapy, inviting you to come work with IRG. And Shannon, what kind of staff are you looking for at IRG?
Brock, we're looking for all kinds of clinical staff, physical therapists, occupational therapists, athletic trainers, certified occupational therapy technicians, physical therapy assistants, you name it on the clinical side. We are looking for those folks. But we are really looking for folks that want to come to an organization that want to be part of our culture and change the culture and work with us to provide the best care and service we can to our patients, our team, and our community. So those clinical people out there, we're looking for you. We also provide advanced certification. We want to provide you mentorship. We want you to grow personally and professionally here at IRG.
And with over 40 clinics throughout the Pacific Northwest, you've got the opportunity to work in the city you want. Just head over to irgpt.com/careers. That's irgpt.com/careers.
What does the Seahawks jersey mean? It's football.
Drops back, has time, loads up, throws. It's intercepted. Does he keep his feet in? He does. Seahawks ball.
It's community.
The stands are rocking right now. Nobody has left this place. It is pandemonium.
It's Seattle. This is your jersey. This is the Pro Shop. The Seahawks Pro Shop has the largest selection of Seahawks jerseys. Come try one on at the Landing in Renton or at Lumen Field.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
It's what I need to know. Get your question, any question, into the Mac and Jacks text line 866-979-3776. I love this one. What I need to know. Why is getting 15 receiving touchdowns, which has happened 36 times in NFL history, so much more difficult to get than 1,500 receiving yards, which has happened 57 times? What a good question.
Boy, that is one of those questions. It's like what kind of the chicken or the egg when it comes to wide receivers. I think it's just so hard to get a touchdown, right? Like that's the one blade of grass that defenses emphasize the most. Yeah. You made a point earlier. So I said, God, that question itself reminds me of Calvin Johnson's record-breaking season. You get nearly 2,000 receiving yards and five touchdowns. Yeah.
5. And you said, well, maybe particularly when he was playing, what happens when you get in the red zone?
You run the ball.
Yeah.
Like if it's like a 1st and goal from the 1,
right,
you're probably going to run it more often than you're going to throw it. So that also could explain why 15 touchdowns is more rare than 1,500 receiving yards.
What I need to know, line dancing or surgery without anesthesia? I'll go line dancing. Yeah, I'll go line dancing.
I've never gone line dancing. Country music's not my scene, but I could see why it's fun. I can see the appeal of it.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a great dancer to get into line dancing. And usually it's in a bar setting.
I've literally never, I've never done this in my life.
Yeah.
What I need to know, how long should cocktail hour at Thanksgiving be? Not exactly a math question.
Probably from the start of the Lions game till dessert.
So afternoon game
like
to
a
end
long
of
time.
day.
Yeah.
Now it depends when you do your dinner. My family does Thanksgiving dinner very early. Like the table is set with food at like 3 or 4, so that we're getting like seconds by the evening game.
Yes.
That's kind of our plan. We plan it around how many servings we'd like to have.
We have never eaten Thanksgiving dinner later than like 4 p.m.
That's the thing that's the best about Thanksgiving dinner is low key, and no one wants to say it, it's Thanksgiving lunch.
Right.
No one wants to admit it, that what we're doing is just eating a very late lunch and then eating that many times, being gluttonous. It's great.
My wife's stepdad, he's the one that cooks the big meal for us. He's also a huge Dallas Cowboys fan, which I still love him for it, even though he's a Dallas Cowboys fan. He's a realistic Dallas Cowboys fan, where he's like, I don't know why I bother rooting for this team, but I do. One of my favorite things to do is when he's busy cooking, I'll just give him updates from the game. Dak threw another pick.
Oh, no. You're a horrible friend. Oh,
CD just fumbled. Micah Parsons getting stretchered off.
It's like, I don't think it's a bad thing to be a Cowboys fan. It's like when that guy was complaining about being a Yankees fan. It's like, but your team is in the news, in the spotlight.
Right.
Everything is about you all the time, though you have had droughts at different times, so I kind of get it. Let's see. What I need to know. This person said, I split my time between Snohomish and Kent. It's my girlfriend's weekend with her girls. I also haven't seen my cats in a week, and my inside cat is throwing fits and knocking over her feeder. Should I spend tonight with my cats or my girlfriend and her girls? I think the cats. No reason why.
Just
Curtis, nothing to add.
You go have fun with your kids. I'm going to spend it with my kids.
I just feel bad for these cats.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of depends on what your relationship is with your girlfriend's kids. Like if you're close with them, I would imagine it'd be better to spend with them than your cats. If it's like newly...
I read this as like my girlfriend and her girls.
Oh,
like,
maybe it's that.
Like it's
well,
like
because he's asking, should I spend time with my girlfriend and her girls?
Yeah, her kids. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
okay.
I think it would win you a lot
Okay,
of points.
so Curtis's
if you spend it with your girlfriend and her kids.
Curtis's advice is the correct advice. I worry for your cat staying alive. So maybe you just take a couple hours to go out there. And honestly, cats are really rude. So like once you're there for an hour, they're going to get bored of you. Maybe you just kind of spend a little bit of time.
Yeah, you don't need to spend the whole night with your cats.
No, I like turning the TV on for pets. It
That's
matters.
like their babysitter?
It makes
Yeah.
a difference. Not anything
Yeah.
scary, but just something nice. You know?
Yeah.
Paw Patrol.
And they have mentioned they have an auto feeder. So if you fill that thing up,
So when I
they
think about
should
it,
be
your cats
fine.
are actually spoiled. What I need to know, I got a couple different ones here. One of your favorite celebrities is coming to your house for a home-cooked meal. Who is it and what are you making? I misread this as pick a celebrity to come to your house and cook you a meal.
Oh.
And I was thinking of all the hilarious combinations you could make of like, okay, I want Danny DeVito and he's going to make chicken parmesan.
One of my favorite celebrities is coming for a home-cooked meal. Who is it? And what are you making? I'm good with the pasta. I would say I'm getting better with the pasta. I'm not great with it, but I'm getting better. And I would hate for like if Guy Fieri came over.
To judge your cooking.
Yeah, that would be
That's the
bad.
thing.
Because he
I
he
can't
eats in
invite
all these
Padma.
fancy restaurants. Yeah.
You got to invite someone that's like not going to judge your cooking in any way. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, that's why I said Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
I think he'd be cool with anything.
I think he would be.
I'm getting Frank energy.
Paul Rudd.
Yeah. 866-979-3776. What I need to know, Curtis, we have a lot of rain coming. What are go-to activities for the girls so I can steal it? Because you've got 2 girls.
Go to the pool.
What?
Go to an indoor pool.
Oh.
That's what we do.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Love an
They're
indoor
going to get
pool.
wet, sure,
Yeah.
but this is a much more controlled environment. They're going to have a lot of fun. Pools aren't that expensive to go to. Find the free swim hours. If you're in the South End, I know the city of Tacoma has some good pools.
That's really good advice.
Yeah.
Mine was watch TV.
Yeah.
But that,
Go to Costco as well. There's
Not
always
helpful.
room to run around there, and you reward yourself at the end with a hot dog.
who doesn't love it? Like a Dave and Buster's type situation?
Sure.
You know, but the equivalent of for younger kids. I don't know what
Yeah.
that would be.
If they're young, go to the mall. Have them run around.
Those are all of our ideas.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. This has been Bump and Stacy. Curtis Rogers in for Michael Bumpus today. For more from Bump and Stacy, we have a podcast available on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, or SeattleSports.com. Wyman and Bob coming your way next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
John Morosi is here.
I think the Mariners, if you're not going to spend that money now and really not be a player for at least somebody in the Walker, Santander, Torres class of player, if you're not going to do that, then you might as well trade one of your starting pitchers right now because you've proven already that you might be able to squeak into the playoffs with this current